so didn't miss any action yet in the game. So
Yeah, I apologize. My jaw was killing me last night, and I took painkillers, and then I overslept this morning. My bad.
oh, no problem. Yeah, no problem. I'm always worried about
Trust me, Ghost. We have all overslept hilariously before.
Oh yeah, I've always I always set 2 alarms because I'm terrified of oversleeping for work, for this game, for other things.
I have this alarm clock that makes it sound like a bomb goes off whenever the alarm goes off, because I've slept through earthquakes before.
Oh yeah.
I need a loud ass alarm.
Oh yeah. I have and I have one that makes me do mouth problems.
Yeah.
So
it took a literal helicopter wake me up one time.
Exactly.
I need an alarm that scares me to wake me up.
Well, you know what? I'm sure you know what. Online, there's everything. All that alarm clocks. So.
I mean, my ex-girlfriend used to have this one that would actually shake her bed violently for it. I mean, it's got both its plus and minuses, if you know what I mean.
Oh my god, yeah, that's a lot. I don't know if I could do that. Okay.
There's also the slowly gets louder alarms. Those are pretty nice.
Yeah, actually, mine does do that. It's like the gentle wake up. I think they call it, or something like that. It's not that gentle though.
I think those are considered the most healthy ways for most healthy alarms.
I should switch mine back to that one. I hate alarm clocks more than anything though on this, even though I need them. Okay, so everybody, like I said, Phineas, you can get up if you want, but you were asleep, or resting, not sleep, but resting. Okay, so everybody's back at the village, and the village is getting ready. Everybody's kind of bustling around. Nobody's really paying, too much attention to you in terms of what you're doing. They're kind of just in their own little worlds. So the group, except for Toren, Phineas would have just left the shaman's place. Did you all want to meet up somewhere before the ceremony? Did you want to do something else specifically?
If we want to meet up, cool. But I also want to see if they need help with cooking.
Okay.
Actually, last time you said I would have come back just as they were exiting the shaman hut. We kind of did the fast forward thing to do what I was doing.
Yes. Okay. So then you would just meet up with them outside at the shaman hut. You'd probably see them. This isn't a very big village.
I was like, well, they'd probably see me first because I would have gone straight to what was the name of the hunt's queen? M. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I would have gone to meet up with them. So I'm over there if they want me to do anything.
Okay. What about the rest of the group? Is there anything specific that you all wanted to do?
Should we discuss about what we were trying to do in general?
You mean what you're trying to figure out?
Us as the group is what our goal is for this.
Oh yeah, if you guys want to. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What's our game plan?
Never told us how it went.
Yeah, general strategy meeting.
Oh, if someone wants to come get me, I'm just hanging out with them, helping her skin all the animals.
Okay.
So here's the plan.
I guess we'll all gather up then.
We're gonna get a bunch of torches, right? We're gonna go behind each one of these buildings, right? We're gonna go ahead and make sure all the doors are locked from the outside. And we're gonna just burn these bitches alive.
I think...
Phineas, I know you're on board with me, man. Come on, let's do it.
What?
Oh god, someone's possessed Ramune. I get a bang just...
Here is Johnny!
Ramune, you sound a lot different today.
Oh, that is not M, you guys. That is Tool.
Oh.
I meant to grab M. Okay.
Yeah, so
go ahead.
I'll basically let everybody know how, once we get into, I guess a private area.
Okay, where do you guys want to go?
Did they provide a tent? Yeah, did they give do we have a tent where we're staying? Do we have a place where we're staying? Did we figure that out?
Let's say that they did give you guys a tent, and it would be this over here, this little thing.
I
did you want to? So M is going to. You probably would just not invite into your conversation, right? Or do you?
No.
Okay.
I was gonna say too. We have tents. We can usually just set up tents towards the outskirt of the village too. That's not up.
This one right here is yours. Okay.
Yeah. So we'll basically I'll explain to everyone how my schmoozing session went. I'll be like, it went pretty iffy. Didn't get much information out of it.
I mean, you didn't get killed, so that's a win right there.
Yeah. Yeah. Ooh. So like, what are we trying to do now? Like, just get info from them, or?
I think you mentioned something about getting invited to a festival of some kind.
Well, yeah, we're all invited.
Yeah, I got a position of honor at the feast, actually.
Yeah, so we should probably figure out what we're going to do there. Or, like, if we're going to try getting more information, or...
Yeah, I love how no one's questioning the fact that my character's still covered in bear blood. Have you seen him just drag this bear back to the village with his bare hands?
I would imagine Toren's like frequently returned from like his hunts covered in, blood and animal parts.
I mean, Toren's never really just jumped a bear and just started stabbing it in the face with a sword before.
So are we gonna like ask that one guy about confront him about what he's doing? The guy that said he was hoping that we died to the crocs.
Well, we can't talk to him. We need him or somebody to translate for us.
I mean, yeah. Or are we gonna
Besides, it'd be a pretty bad gesture if they see us just beating that guy up.
I don't want to think. Who said anything about beating him up? We just gonna ask him.
Phineas, this is you we're talking about here.
I don't beat people up.
No, you just try and kill them.
No, I threatened them. There's a big difference here.
Okay, threatening someone when we're a guest in their village is not a good thing to do.
I wasn't gonna threaten them either.
Okay, so I think
Jonno, you're really quiet.
Yeah, Jonno, are you using two different microphones, like a webcam mic and then a standalone mic? Because it always switches. Like, there's one that's really good, and then there's one that's like super quiet for you.
Oh.
I could not understand anything he said.
Any better now?
Yeah,
yes.
that's a lot better.
So whatever microphone that is, or whatever you're doing, do it. Use it.
Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Yep, we can hear you
great.
now.
That particular villager isn't a priority. We do have some important pieces of information that we are sitting on, including the elf visitor that Toll has, the potential location of her potential son, and of course the changes in the village. So personally, I'm going to be paying close attention to how different people interact and engage with each other during the feast. That's where my eyes will be.
Her son?
Wait, what?
Where can you find her son?
Now, Toren, remember those bear statues that the bandit had? Those carving?
And I pull out the carving. It's like this thing?
We found the almost exact same ones in the woodworking shed created here. His description and the time he disappeared from the village lines up with when Toll's son disappeared. So it's very likely that bandit we found is Toll's son, but she doesn't know that. She hasn't had any word from him in the 6 months.
Oh, you think the bandit's the son?
Yeah, did he say
almost certainly?
Didn't he say he got this thing from his mom?
Exactly.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I'm gonna hand this to Irene. It's like, since you're the most diplomatic among us, and I look over at Phineas, and let's just say a master of tact. How about you?
I'm pretty like convincing.
Not in with something like this.
Phineas has a good presence, but maybe not suited for this particular line of work.
Yeah, you're right. I'm pretty intimidating.
Toren's just not even going to respond. He hands the bandit carving to Irene.
Yeah, let me add that to my stuff.
So should we just like straight up say like, yeah, we think your kid is in jail right now?
No.
I think we should hold on to that information as not necessarily a trump card.
I mean, I was the one that wanted to free him. You guys were the one that put him in jail, so...
And if he were free, we wouldn't know where he was.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay,
he could have just gone home.
Okay, all in favor of not allowing Phineas to talk to the Matriarch anymore? Raise your hand.
I already talked to her. I'm going to talk to her a little bit more.
I said any more. Raise your hand.
I'm going to talk to her a little bit more. So,
Ramune raises his hand.
Yeah, I'm still going to still talk to her.
About what do you plan on talking to her about?
Maybe I try to woo her a little bit more.
Well, from what you said,
well, you already said that went poorly.
I mean, yeah, it doesn't mean I can't keep trying. She seems like a woman that likes people that are committed to.
What exactly happened in that tent between you two, Phineas?
Tried to skin an animal. We fought.
Did you offend her in any way?
I don't think so.
It sounds like the task that you stated may be
Wait, does Phineas genuinely not think he offended her in any way?
I don't think so.
Hold on a minute. Can I roll insight to see if he believes that he didn't offend her?
Be sure he believes it.
Yeah, I believe that.
I think, based on what you described,
and Ramune just kind of looks toward Toren and this bloody corpse of a bear,
it may be better if maybe Toren goes speak to her next.
No, I'm good.
I agree.
As it shows that he clearly was able to do exactly that which you could not.
I mean, I could kill a bear. I beat Toren in wrestling before.
I mean,
well, Phineas, if you go and find a bear and bring it back in time, then you can definitely go and speak to her.
Why would I go fight a bear?
To prove yourself.
Well, that's what you just said.
It's like.
But that's kind of dumb.
Phineas, go kill a bear with nothing but a sword in your fists. Drag it back here, and then
that's
you
what I
go
do.
introduce the Matriarch.
I mean, Phineas wasn't able to perform, so now it's Toren's turn to try.
I don't know. I think I performed pretty well.
Yeah, the first thing you said is that it didn't go well. You said to us that it didn't go very well, so I'm not sure what you're talking about now.
It was like kind of neutral. I think I'm gonna still try it.
DM, can I, after this instance of questioning against it, can I do an insight check to see if he's actually being truthful now?
Yeah.
Because it feels like he would be getting, Phineas would be kind of getting a little riled up as we're questioning him, and he's kind of defending himself.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, regardless, I'm probably going to be the closest to the Matriarch, because
I got an 18.
I feel like I did fine.
I think Phineas believes he did fine. So, yeah, he's true. I mean, I think he's being truthful. Now, whether that's true or not is a different story, right? So, I think from what you see that Phineas is being truthful because he thinks that he doesn't get what actually happened.
Okay.
Might be a little awkward.
Phineas is an awkward young lad, okay?
Despite the circumstances, Phineas.
Okay, so so it sounds then like you can continue discussing, but I'm just trying to make sure that I understand. Toren, did you want to go to try to talk to the Matriarch now?
Not yet. I'm gonna bring that corpse of the bear over to M and help her skin everything and get it prepared for the feast. And kind of get a read on her personality from M, since M was Tool's best friend. Or was it
not
M?
M, it was Frohl. No, M is not. They're not.
Oh.
I mean, they're friends as people would be in the village, but they're not close friends.
Well, I'll just try and get like a read on who Tool is as a person, since I wasn't there for, all the talk and stuff like that.
Okay.
Well, before Toren goes, I guess the consensus of the group is that if it went neutral as opposed to going well, then Toren, having just brought back a bear and proven himself, is probably going to be able to court the most favor and get a bit more information from the Matriarch. And then if it comes to negotiating and tactfully breaking the news that we arrested her son, then Irene will probably be able to handle that.
Okay, so that's the...
Did you guys talk about your stuff with the shaman?
Have we brought it up to Phineas and Toren?
No, you have not. And Phineas and Toren's about to leave to take that bear to him. So if you're gonna bring it up now.
Yeah, Ramune.
I'll leave that to Ramune.
Ramune hasn't brought anything up yet.
All right, then I'll leave that be.
Okay, so Toren's going over to M.
Okay, we will go to Toren and M to the conversation. Would anybody else we're gonna go to the moon festival after this, so what would everybody else like to do while you're waiting?
I will like to help with prepare food for the feast.
Okay, we'll go with that. What about everyone else? You can rest, by the way, you don't have to do anything.
Is Irene gonna do any sort of investigating, or did you have any plans?
I think I'll wait for the to see how the interpersonal play at the feast itself. I'll probably just be making more detailed notes about all the information we just found out. So I kind of have that in the back pocket.
Okay.
And Toren's going to talk to talk about the bear carvings.
No, he's going to help him skin the bear and try to get more information about Tool.
Okay.
That's what he's saying, yeah. Okay, so it sounds like the other three are resting, right? So we'll go ahead and go to, so we'll go to Toren first and M. Okay, so you bring M the bear and you are still, again, you haven't cleaned yourself up. And she just looks and says, very impressive. She is, again, in her perfect common, says, okay, so you're gonna help me prepare this thing for later today?
Yeah, kind of help with anything else, since I'm kind of one of the only people here my group anyway, who's somewhat proficient with skinning.
And she says, Phineas,
I'm more I don't skin things too often, and nothing this big usually. I usually hand it over to the guilds and stuff like that, but I've picked up a thing or two.
And she says, okay. And she said, I have to admit, I was not expecting you all to be so proficient. Well, at least not your friends. You and the Goliath, maybe, but not your friends. Sorry. And she kind of
the street urchin surprises everybody with everything he does, frankly.
And she shakes her head and she's like, yeah, he's pretty. I think he might have more power than he knows what to do with. And she kind of shakes her head, thinking about the blast and knowing that he would have only just gotten that power.
Yeah, he ate disease rats for all his life, so God knows what.
She doesn't seem too grossed out by it, and she's like, actually like rats. Maybe not diseased rats, but we can make a nice little souffle. And she kind of looks at you to judge your face, remembering that, other people don't eat like the barbarians do. And
it's like, Toren doesn't care. It's like, it's like, I'm not your typical dwarf, so it's like, I've eaten raw snake before. Don't ask that story. It's not one of my more proud moments.
And she's snake is delicious. We're gonna have snake tonight. We're also going to have crocodile. And then she seems to remember something again, and she says, "Oh, and that's gonna be fireworks," which I have no idea how we got those, but and kind of shrugs and starts takes out her knife and starts starting to cut into the bear bit.
And I kind of help her, but that's like, From what you said, people, nobles lose crap all the time. You probably found a wagon full of them to Harkenstow or something.
And she says, "Well, if that were true, they wouldn't keep them. That is actually, I see your point, but that's strictly against our honor codes in this village. We don't keep anything that we find. We return it to a village, or we try to find the owner. We have a high level of honor here. We don't steal and we don't hurt, especially people who may possibly need our help. Merchants. We look out for the travelers in our area. So they would have had to been bought. Unless," and she kind of rolls her eyes, Tool has decided to drop that tenant too.
For all her faults, she seems like a woman who sticks to her convictions at the very least. She doesn't look like someone who could be easily bought off, for lack of a better phrase there.
And
even still, what could she be bought off with? You guys don't need that. You guys don't need that much money, do you?
And she says, "No. I mean, we do need to have money for times where our crops fail. It's hard living out here, and there have been a few winters that we have had to, a long time ago, but that we have had to go to the village and have had to stay, or our crops failed one year and we had to buy a lot of our food. So we do have a need for money, but not all the time. But this year has been particularly difficult, but we've always lived very frugally." And then she thinks about it, and she says, "And you're right about Tool. In fact, when Tool took over as Matriarch, takeover was quite hostile, if I do say so. The village was split, but I was originally on her side. I like the fact that she wanted to bring discipline, and she wanted to bring order and structure. And Sir Jem, while I love her, was not," and she's kind of thinking for the right word, "not
the best leader."
Yes. And she says, "Exactly. She's a wonderful person, but she wasn't able to lead, and she was losing control of her authority." And so I felt that it was, at first I felt that it was important, that I thought it was going to be a good change to have Tool come in. And then she says, "But then she changed. I don't know." And she kind of shrugs and keeps working.
Have you seen anyone strange around the village? Like someone who shouldn't be here, like, I don't know, someone like me, or like an elf, or someone who just doesn't belong here at all? Like any strange visitors, anybody? You said you stay up pretty late at night, so maybe you've seen some.
She seems to be scanning her brain, and she says, "I mean, not really. We do have visitors, although less these days, but we had some elves about a few months ago. A small, it was right before the event, small group of elves heading up to an elven village north of here. I forget the name, but We don't see elves very often at all. No, she shakes her head. And FYI, world lore, Toren, you would know that, and everybody would pretty much know this. Elves are not as common in this. I mean, they're a common race, but they're not as common in this part of the world. This territory, if you look at the map, it's mostly human. There are some villages. Won't get into what those are, but yeah, more human, and halfling. And so she said no. She said not really. Why, did you hear something?
No, more of just like, I was like, maybe she's being threatened or somehow, as unlikely as that would be.
She really seems to consider the idea, and she says, I wouldn't think that could ever happen, but who knows at this point? I mean, I would hope that she would come to us if something was going on with her. I hope that she would trust the village to help her. We've always been there for her.
Don't spread this, but do you know what the term blackmail means?
And she says, yes. One thing that they were really good at doing was whenever a human from the city would come to the village, my mother would insist that I talk to them as much as possible. So I would keep my common sharp. And so, surprisingly, I do understand that word, yes.
Alright, well, back in Ardenborn, we encountered a group of bandits. One of them had a bear sculpture, very well worn, exactly like the ones from this village. At least from what my group told me, since I wasn't here for it. And one of them was an adult male. He said he ran away from his village, and that the bear sculpture he had was from his mother.
She looks surprised. And she looks like she's thinking really hard, and she says, well, I mean, he could have bought it from here. People buy, but his mother. Could be.
No, he was quite adamant. It's like, I mean, he even begged us not to take the thing.
And she says,
we still have it, but it was more so it wouldn't get stolen.
And she thinks, and she says, well, I mean, it could be. She says, but no. I mean, you said bandits? I mean, I don't know. Torv, my brother, well, not really my brother. I consider him my brother, though. Torv disappeared about 6 months ago, and he had. And she reaches into like a pack that she has on, like to her waist, like a knapsack type of pack, a hip knapsack, and she pulls out a little statue. It's old, it's quite worn, but she pulls it out, and she says, like this. I'm not going to make you roll for this. It's exactly like the one that you saw.
Yeah, almost the exact same. His was a little less well worn, but still pretty worn.
And she says,
and I kind of give her a rough description of the bandit.
And she says, that does sound like Torv. And then she holds it up and she says, this specific design of the bear is actually, although similar to the ones in the shop, it's one that you cannot buy. And she turns it over and she shows you a carving on the bottom of it, and it's like a symbol. And she says, there's a ceremony that all children go through when we're right around 12 years old, and we're becoming warriors of the village, even if we're not literally warriors. And we get a figurine like this, and it's given to us by our mothers. And it's a really big deal, actually. So I see why he was not really wanting to talk about it, honestly. And she says, so what happened to him?
Well, he jumped a caravan that was laden with dwarven stone carvings from near where I'm from a guild called the Sisters of Stone, a all-female stonesmiths guild. They're actually quite fierce warriors too. You'd probably really like them, although they're very rigid in what they do. So I kind of left. Yeah, but and so we were hired to find the caravan of other stuff that they stole, and we found this. We jumped them. He fell out of a tree because we surprised them. I tied him up. We tied up his comrades, and he's in the jail in Ardenbor right now. We don't really know what's going to happen to him. Thankfully, he didn't kill anybody, so he shouldn't get killed himself. So
she's taking all that. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Worst case, he'll get community. Best case, he'll get community service. Worst case, he'll probably get like 10 years in prison.
She is taking all this in, and she says, wow. And she doesn't even seem to be talking to you. She puts down the knife for a second, and she's staring into space, and she says, you know, it's so just, this was not the answer for him. I know that he wasn't comfortable here, but all the things he could have done. And she looks at you and she says, I'm sure it has to be him. You're right. And that would explain why we haven't heard anything.
Yeah, what you told me, but you told dude, the leader of the group is a redheaded woman too, exactly like his mother. And Toren just started laughing at that fact.
And she kind of chuckles to herself and says, that's actually not surprising. He is close to his mother, which it's strange to me that he would never talk to her and just leave like that, but I guess he couldn't deal with it anymore. And she says, well, I mean, I don't know what we're going to do with this information.
Keep it under wraps for right now, just because, well, for one, it's not a 100% guarantee that it's him. I mean, some of this is just purely circumstantial, but it does beg the question that maybe she's trying to find him and someone offered to give her information on him. Who knows?
And she thinks about it and says, okay, yeah, that might make sense. And she kind of laughs to herself and says, you know, I'm glad that you didn't come to the thought that bandits actually took out some barbarians and stole that. And then she starts laughing really hard and says, yeah.
I mean, how we caught them was particularly unclever because there were three of them. Two of them were in a tree, and me and Phineas, the really scrawny one, we were pretending to be merchants passing through, and we were arguing on the caravan, and I was just like, okay, I'm gonna go get dinner because we were pretending to make camp, and I went to go see a rabbit, and I said I saw a rabbit near the tree they were hiding in because they were shouting pretty loudly. And so we came to the tree, it's like, alright, let's smoke them out. We were going to set the tree on fire. And Tor fell out of the tree, trying to get out. Because he thought we were going to set him on fire.
She starts just laughing. And she says, you know, that wouldn't be surprising if that was him. And she says he did his best, but let's say he wasn't the most, he didn't catch quite to being a fierce warrior, particularly, and she kind of seems ashamed to say this, but she says it. Intelligent.
He put up a decent struggle. I mean, it took me a little bit of work to wrestle him, so I could tie him up.
And she's like, well, good for him. He never ever was able to put up a decent struggle with me, though. And she like laughs again. And
I kind of point out her muscles, like, well, I mean, can you blame him?
And she's not the most humble person, to be for sure, you know, not in like a mean way, but definitely knows her. I mean, she just took to, as a child, she took to this way of life so well, and she's proud of that. And she sort of shakes her head and says, okay, so, and you know, you could tell that you're getting on her good side. She likes what you're saying. She likes hearing the praise, you know. As the queen of the hunt, this isn't someone who has to lack confidence. It could be a matter of life or death. And so she says, okay, well, I will not say anything. I agree with you. And also, I know that you all you're the group, if sent by the government and Dr. Simic, that you are the type of group that is specialized in investigating and looking into these things. So I will leave that to you all. And she says, I will not say a word. But I would, and she says, you know what? We'll see how this plays out. I think you'll be here for a little bit longer, and either way, something will come out of this. She kind of shakes her head.
Don't worry, then it's like the last job we did, and we end up fighting a bunch of giant snakes again. You'll be the first one we call.
She seems to like that. She's like, okay. And she makes like a palm and like puts her fist in her hand, like kind of like moves it around and says, always ready for that. And
I mean, it's okay. Like in terms like, I mean literal giant, like 20-foot snakes, by the way.
Does not seem phased. Even goes into a bit of a story of telling you about a time that she like almost got crushed to death by a constrictor snake. Not like being upset, not just like it was a great story and like laughing about it, thinking that the injuries even were funny, and was like, yeah, and you know, got a scratch here and there. Actually describing like serious injury, but calls it a scratch.
And Toren, as they're working, they just keep telling stories, so he's gonna be doing that.
Okay, cool. So he's going to be hanging out with M, telling stories. They're kind of bonding over that. M is appreciative of the information. And okay, we are going to go ahead and head to the kitchen then. Sounds like everything there that we could talk about is said. So we'll head to the kitchen next. And Phineas. So let me bring out the person who is in the kitchen. It is this person here. Make them invisible. 2 token there. There we go. Okay. Okay. So kitchen, and you go in and you actually see a lot of people working. People are just bustling here and there. It's a big feast. You see people cutting things, people roasting stuff over fires. You see like some vegetables that are being prepared. And the person who's kind of like barking the orders and kind of giving everybody, you know, keeping people in order, who seems to be the leader, is this person here. She's just she is not an elf, FYI. I didn't realize when I picked this token that this was the token of an elf. So this is a human. Ignore the ears, please. So she is, you know, just kind of barking orders, and she does speak common, but it's broken. You all have noticed, again, no insight roll needed. It's fairly obvious that the people who seem to be working at the stores and kind of in charge of things at least some level of common, maybe to trade as they used to, but those people specifically seem to speak different, various levels of common. And so what would you like to do? She's busy just kind of directing people.
Where should I go?
And she looks at you and says, "Oh?"
Yeah, I'm cooking, helping.
And she says, "Oh, cook. What you know how to cook?"
Everything.
And she says, "Okay." And she says, You cook boar." And she like points over, like does a like moves her hand out and points over to like a corner. And you see some people there like that are kind of like roasting something again over a fire, and you notice that there is an actual boar. It is in a small pen, and it is just like squealing, and nobody's really paying attention to it. And she's like, "Kill."
Okay.
And she gives you she like gives you like a little dagger, a little bit of a dagger, and she says, "Kill."
I got my own. It's all good.
And she takes it back up, and then she sits back and watches, like, he's about to get gored type of look on her face.
Okay, yeah, then I'll go fuck up this boar.
So it's in like a little like a little kind of like a tiny little cage. It's like squealing and like walking around and running around, but not a cage. Sorry, not a cage, not with the top, but like with like a little fenced in thing that they have there.
Okay.
And it's just running around this little tiny little fenced in area.
Yeah. Am I able to just like poke it with my sword? Like,
yep.
Am I able to reach it?
She has given you no other instructions. Not very clear.
Or is this like a thing where I have to get into like the area with the...
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, then I guess I'll fucking can I just like I'll just blast this guy, I guess.
Okay.
Just a bunch.
All right, go ahead and let's see. So Eldritch Blast is force damage, right? So that's like, I wonder what force damage looks like.
I don't know. I
picture
it
it's like Star Wars, right? When you actually force someone, you're like a concussive blast, you know?
Okay. So it wouldn't like destroy the corpse, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
It'd be like invisible punches.
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
okay, got it.
It would mangle, but not rip or anything. It's like he would kind of get crushed depending on how hard he did it.
Okay. All right. So yeah, go ahead and roll. Oh yeah. So Phineas, like you're just gonna back him and just blast this thing, right?
I mean, yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Oh no, totally up to you. Just say, tell me how you're doing. Okay. So you just back up, and she's like kind of like watching you, like, what is he about to do? She's expecting to like grab a knife and go over and like probably stab it in the head. And he blasts this boar, and it just falls, or it like blasts back, and everyone's like, and there's like everybody turns around and like looks, and it's like, and and no, it's still alive. It's not. I'm not going to give it the same amount of hit points, but it's very badly injured. Okay, thank you. And okay, crackling. Okay, so you know what? I didn't pull up my program that helps me with this. I'll do that later. Okay, so the crackling energy. So crackle, bam, and everyone looks, and she's like, it's like complete silence. Like you hear a pin drop for a second. And she's like, witchcraft.
Oh, no, it's not. It's just fucking like a bow. Think of it like as a bow.
And she's like, not bow, witchcraft.
No, just think of it as a bow. And then I'll take out my sword and like just walk towards the boar and like cut it, I guess, like gut it, or
Okay, you're gonna have to do one more attack roll to finish it off. Okay, yep. You just managed to just slice it, and she looks and she says, and she just kind of just was like, okay, whatever. And she said something to someone in like the language that you can't understand, and the person like looks over, and they're like talking back and forth fiercely, and they're both looking at you. And she comes up and says, "Meat corrupted," and she says, "Meat corrupted."
Okay. Do you not want me to finish cooking this?
And she says, "You eat." And she gives you a knife, basically saying they're not going to be eating it, but if you want to cook it for yourself, feel free.
You're not going to eat. It's perfectly good food.
And she says, "Witchcraft." And
man, you guys are being very insulting to me. Is this how you treat guests normally?
She doesn't understand what you're saying at all. She's just kind of looking a little bit unsure, and she says, "No more cook. Out."
Where's the corrupted? You're just gonna...
And she says, "Meditate. Out."
What?
Out.
Okay.
And she's like, "Go, go, go." And she like does this little like gesture with her hand. "Go, go."
Okay.
And she's basically trying to kick you out of the kitchen, seeming to get more and more annoyed the longer you stay in.
Okay, well, I don't know where the fuck the corrupted are, so...
Ramune is just... Phineas is just very confused with this, isn't he?
She was calling the boar corrupted because of what you did to it. That's what she was doing. So she was saying that the Elder Blast made it corrupted.
Okay.
And so they don't want to eat it now.
Man, you guys are very, very racist.
Phineas is quickly becoming like a Florida man meme at this point.
You guys are being very racist. I don't know.
Phineas is our Florida man.
Yeah, Phineas is officially Florida man.
Right. So she's kicking you out. Are you gonna just leave?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
What's that question for Phineas? I see you using that word, but I don't think you know what that word means.
I think these guys are being very racist and
Yeah, that word.
Very racist towards me. I don't know.
Phineas doesn't understand the meaning of racism.
These guys are being very, very discriminatory.
There we go. Maybe discriminatory against magic users. Yeah, but you know, maybe not. Okay, so she is kicking you out of the kitchen. Will you, like I said, are you leaving like right away, or are you lingering? Like, what are you doing?
I don't know. I guess I'll just leave. I don't.
Okay. All right.
Weirdos. I mean,
so
they showed a pretty consistent dislike for magic.
I don't know. They're fucking weirdos.
I mean, you've already tried this once with the leader, and it didn't end well when you did that. So why would you?
I mean, the leader was kind of...
I'm pretty sure Phineas is insane because he keeps trying the same thing over and over again and
right,
expecting a different result.
Nah, these guys are just fucking weird.
Okay, so you've been kicked out of the kitchen, and they all are kind of like, and I think the boar has been ruined as far as they're concerned. So they're not going to be eating that. Okay, so anybody else? Oh, so the other three of you are resting, right? Until the ceremony. Okay.
Yeah, I forgot I was crushed a couple hours ago, so rest is nice.
Okay. All right. So if anybody has nothing else to do, we are going to move forward in time. Does anybody else have anything? It's okay if you have anything you want to do, but I just kind of say these things to keep the flow going. You can always be like, no, I want to do this. I'm not discouraging you from doing that. So does anybody else have anything they want to do before the ceremony?
I kind of wanted to have Toren come to deliver the bear carcasses. Phineas was getting thrown out of the kitchen, just to kind of like him come in at like the tail end of it. Just you're like, oh god, what did he do?
Okay, so you're gonna actually be entering the kitchen as she's like out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
okay.
Hey, Toren.
Oh. Hello. Em asked me to bring this over here.
Okay, yeah, they kind of hate me in there.
What did you do?
I killed a boar like they asked me to.
Okay, how did you kill it?
I killed it with a sword.
Do I believe him when he says that?
It's true.
Insight.
What? Oh, roll insight?
Mm-hmm.
It's very true.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, he seems to be telling the truth. It is true. He doesn't tell the whole story, but it is true.
I killed it with the sword.
Toren kind of just rolls his eyes. It's just like, oh, okay, you did something else then, and he kind of just walks into the.
No, I think they're just like kind of like very discriminatory towards me. These guys kind of suck, honestly.
Try saying that to Em. She'll kick your ass.
Okay.
Okay. So you, of course, probably fully believing that there's more to this story. Excuse me. You see the same thing as Phineas just saw, is this redheaded woman just barking orders at people again. You see like this boar that has been that's like bleeding out, and they're just like very gingerly, like they don't even want to touch it, like poking it with sticks. A few people, and they're just kind of like poking it, and then you see like someone like moving it with a stick. They don't even want to touch it, and then they're just like, they open the pen and they're like rolling it out with sticks towards the exit of the kitchen.
Toren kind of face palms, says, "Fucking Phineas." He's gonna get us kicked out of this raid.
And as Tomo sees you, she I never said her name. Her name is Tomo. The lady. She looks at you and she says, "Oh, very good." And she says, "There." And she points to like a kind of like an area where a lot of the food is being prepared, and she tells you to just put it down there. And she says, she's the spirit of bear. And she just like nods approvingly.
And I kind of look over at the board and I'm just like, witchcraft.
And she looks surprised at and she says, witchcraft. And she like repeats the same thing, and she says, corrupted.
It's like, all right, well, he kind of, and I look at that bar, it's like, kind of ruined that, didn't he?
And she doesn't seem to understand quite what you're saying, but she gets the gist of it, and she doesn't answer the question directly. She just says, can't eat. And she shakes her head. And it's kind of hilarious to watch them all, like, there's like several of them like with sticks, like rolling it with the sticks, like out of the kitchen hut.
But before it's like Toren just shakes his head, walks over, picks the thing up, and I just point this thing and I say, bait.
And they're like, they look like a little bit like, like they jump back, seeming like, oh my gosh, he touched it, but then they're like, okay, whatever. And they like, and they kind of like back up from it, thinking that maybe something will happen, and they walk away.
I just say cowards and walk out.
So, do you say that out loud?
Oh yeah, I say that out loud.
Okay, go ahead, and you know what? They're gonna roll to see if they heard you say that.
Oh no, he says it out loud for them to hear.
Okay. So, she looks at you and says, cowards?
Afraid.
And she says,
afraid.
not afraid, and she is starting to look mad. She says it kind of in a question, like a rising questioning tone.
I say, prove it.
And her eyes narrow even more, and she says, doesn't really seem to understand what that means.
And I put the boar down, and I kind of get into like a wrestling stance.
She just kind of looks at you.
I basically like challenging her.
Oh yeah, no, I know. Mm-hmm. She just kind of looks at you and is out.
It's like, okay, and I pick up the boar again. I'm just like, I'm gonna go do something with this.
And so Toren has also just been kicked out of the kitchen. So you kind of see people like kind of looking at you like, what was going on there? As you kind of leave with this corrupted boar in their opinion. Okay, so did you want to do something with the boar real quick right now before we go to the ceremony?
And I kind of just take over to M and kind of like explain what happened there.
M laughs.
And ask if she can do anything with it.
And she says, yeah. She's like, yeah, don't worry. We won't prepare it for them to eat because I don't want to feed them something that they wouldn't eat, but I'll clean it up and we'll do something with it. And she kind of like laughs at the situation and says, but you shouldn't, and she says, you shouldn't taunt them like that. They're superstitious. And she says the only reason why I don't believe the same things is because I was taught at an earlier age that some of the things that they believe are a little bit strange. Are not. And she says, well,
I guess strange is a poor choice there.
And she says it's not strange, it's just our beliefs. And she says, but I do understand.
It's just different.
And she says, I do understand that the abilities that you have are not what is she trying to say? The abilities that you have are not dangerous. They were not. You have them, but you didn't ask for them. And it's not the abilities themselves, it's how you use them. I was taught not to believe that any one thing is always bad, including your abilities. And she and she says, and I saw you use them for good. You saved your friend earlier. And she shakes her head and says, so. But she says, but I wouldn't be too did you tell her that you called them cowards, or did you just tell the story about the boar?
I tell everything.
Okay. She said, I wouldn't be too free to say that type of thing. That is really a huge insult. I'm surprised that you're not taking a nap right now.
They were poking it with sticks and giving it a wide berth. Why wouldn't I say that? It's not like the thing was rotting.
And she says, tact. There are things that you don't say out loud sometimes.
Okay, fair enough, but still.
And she just kind of like shrugs and says, like I said, if you were taking a 20-minute nap, you couldn't have blamed her. And she said, and say, believe me, as strong as you are. And she kind of just like lets the words trail off. And she says, but it's okay. We don't hold grudges long. They'll get over it, and we will have a great feast tonight.
It's just like, I've always been somewhat of a free spirit. I challenge the biggest, strongest people I can find to fights. It's probably gonna get me killed one day, but hey ho, what can you do?
And she says, well, I hope it doesn't. And she kind of laughs at that and says, but you know, I hope that, and she seems to be like thinking of something to say, and then she kind of lets it drop off and says, you know what, we'll talk about that later.
So what does this Festival of Bear thing entail? Because he said that, because Phineas told us that he was like asked to partake in a ceremony of some kind. She wasn't too clear on what that entailed. He said he talked to the Matriarch. I don't. He wasn't too clear on anything he did there.
She asks you for the contact, and you don't have to go into all of that, because you can just say, or you repeat what he told you. Now, so Phineas, back up real quick. You told them, you didn't tell them everything that happened, right? What did you not tell them?
I didn't like go into detail. I was like, I told them like the gist of everything.
Well, I figured he would have mentioned he'd been asked to partake in a ceremony.
Yeah, I would have said that.
Okay. So she thinks about it and she says, well, there are a few ceremonies, and do you think he made her mad or happy? She kind of does like a weighing with her hands.
What does mildly annoyed mean?
And she says, well, maybe he will be wrestling later, against his will or not. And she says, and she kind of puts her hands up.
Who would he be wrestling?
And she says, oh, her. And she kind of laughs and says, yeah, if he annoyed her, then the main event will be her wrestling him.
Do you think I can get in on a wrestling match there? Because that sounds rather interesting.
And she says, oh yeah, of course. And she says, anybody can do that.
And Toren just grins. It's just like, okay, well, I'm gonna enjoy watching Phineas get folded up like a pretzel.
And she says, yeah, it's gonna be interesting. And she kind of laughs. And she says,
it's like, you know what? I am not going to tell him what that'll be. Consider that his punishment for pissing her off.
And she kind of like she kind of says, mm-hmm. And she says, oh, it'll be a punishment, all right. This is gonna be fun.
So how bad of an ass whooping is he gonna get?
And she says, I don't know. Depends on how mad he made her. We'll see. She won't kill him. She won't cause any broken bones or any actual injuries, of course, but
And I'll be happy with some severely wounded pride.
And she says, exactly. At the most, that's what it'll be.
Well, alright, well, I'm gonna go get ready for that and prepare for a wrestling match, because wrestling a human would be far different from what I normally wrestle, i.e. bears and boars.
She seems like she doesn't quite believe you, but she just is like, whatever. And like, she goes back to, she turns her attention to the boar and starts kind of like working on it. So, okay, so we are going to head to the ceremony of the moon. So I want to move there. All right, so everybody, after some time, somebody comes to the tent, and the place that everyone's singing comes and gets you, and the whole group is brought together and asked to, enter together. Some type of ritual that they are asking you to take part in. And so they kind of, so the person who is taking you takes you to the outside of the village. Selene has really gotten into the spirit, and she actually managed to find some villagers, and they did her hair in the traditional way of the villagers, and she's even wearing like a ceremonial kind of like garb that they would wear. And the little girls with her seems to have taken gotten a little bit of an attachment to Selene. The little girls with her, same hairstyle, and they're walking together. Little girl seems pretty happy. Yara is her name, if you don't remember. And so Selene and Yara are both kind of with a little matching hairstyles. And Yara just smiles at Irene's comment. You still haven't heard this girl talk. And Irene and Selene kind of hugs her and says thank you. And she says Yara did her hair herself. And she just shakes her head and like looks at you, still doesn't say anything. And so as you walk in, you hear some drums, and it's just a boom, like a steady drum rhythm. And you walk through kind of a parting of trees. You see carvings on the side of different animals, not just bears. So you see a carving on a tree of a buffalo. Then you see a bear, of course, but then you also see a rabbit and a deer, and you hear some loud like chanting in front of you. Now M, who has decided to kind of stay with you guys, is translating and is, kindly kind of telling you what's going on, telling you what they're saying, and she's explaining that this is the grand processional into the ceremony, and that everybody except for the elders and the queen and the second in command of the hunt will be standing. And then she kind of whispers, but don't worry. The more we'll get in, things will go on longer. People start getting drunk. You could sit down after a while, but in the beginning, everybody will stand. She explains that there'll be, quite a lot of what she calls moonshine, and she kind of makes quotes, and she says, but I'd be careful. It's not what you're used to in the city. So she explains to you the order of the processional, and you all walk in, and this is what you see. The villagers are standing in the background, and you are all kind of standing together in your own section. And the four elders the elder council are sitting in a stone, on stone seats. M and Jeth are sitting at the head. The matriarch stands up and she says something in the language. And M also stands and just as loudly repeats to you. And she gives a little bit of a speech or a talk on the spirit of the bear. And she has like kind of a magnificent voice, and even though you can't understand what she's saying, you can feel her command of people. Everybody is quiet. Nobody is moving a muscle, and everybody is focused on exactly what she's saying. And Im repeats, the strength of the bear is our medicine. It restores power and balance to heal. And this ceremony of the moon, we give thanks to the spirit known as the great healer. They are the embodiment of spiritual power and physical strength. And they will lead us. And she puts her hand out and she says, thank you. And there's some dancing, there's some drums, there's a lot of things going on. As they're doing one of the ceremonial dances, they kind of like wave anybody up who wants to try to learn it with them. Would anybody like to try a ceremonial dance with the group?
Yeah.
Ramune would.
I would.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have Ramune, Cypress, and Irene.
Phineas too.
Phineas. Okay. Toren?
Toren will stay back. He kind of pulls out his bottle of rum and just kind of sets it down. It's like, yeah, I'll come back to that later.
Okay. And also Selene goes up, and so they're showing you the dance, and it's just a series. It's not difficult, but it's like kind of a lot to remember. It's a series of some footwork, and then you raise your arms, then you do some footwork, and you interweave in and out of each other. And they take like maybe, like 5 to 10 minutes to kind of show you all the dance real quick. I would like everybody to roll dexterity and performance to see how you do. Selene will roll as well. See how she does.
Okay. 22 in total. All right.
Phineas, go ahead and roll dex as well.
Already did.
Oh, you did. I see it now. Okay, got it. Okay.
Oh, Cypress, look at you.
You got lucky.
Twinkle toes.
I can find Selene's character sheet. She will roll. That. And... Okay. All right. So, everybody, nobody fails. I mean, you all are pretty committed to giving what you don't have. Let's put it this way. What you don't have in ability to get the steps right, you all show an enthusiasm, and you all put your all into like the shouts and the chants and the arm movements. And, Irene, a little bit distracted. You're somebody kind of like did a shout within you, and it kind of throws you off, and you're like, oh, okay, and it's kind of leaving you a little bit discombobulated. You're also trying to concentrate really hard on the footwork, and so it's taking a little bit away from your actual performance end of it, because you're just mainly concentrated on the footwork, which you're doing very well. And then the weaving in and out of people, you're doing very, very well. Phineas, you actually like bump into someone as you're kind of trying to do weave through, and the person is like a rock, and he like knocks you over, and somebody has to like step over you, and somebody lifts you up and pulls you back to your feet and pushes you back in line, and it's like, ugh, and they kind of like say something like, get in line so you don't like cause basically a domino effect of people falling, and they like move you in front, and they keep going when they're doing the weaving back and forth. But the one person who really, really seems to excel is Cypress. And you are just, I mean, the performance, the dexterity, I mean, it reminds you of actually a dance that you knew as a child a little bit. It's kind of similar to dances that, your tribe has done. Not exactly the same, but you have the idea, and you kind of have an idea of how the patterns work. And so the dance finishes, and everybody claps. Selene, who I didn't talk about, Ramune too. Selene and Ramune, you both do pretty good. I think that both of you are really just more concentrated on the footwork, just like Irene was. And so you do okay, at both. And even Selene kind of like chuckles when the guy like bumps into Phineas. The dance is over, and everybody kind of like puts their hands up and claps. And you all go back, and the festivities begin. So a boar is brought in, some food is brought in, and some lights in the background kind of come up, and some fireworks, which is definitely not safe with all the trees, but they live on the edge. And you see some fireworks go up, and luckily no trees catch on fire, no one's injured. Little Yara is just looking about them, and her face is like light. You see the light against her face is a little orange, and she's just like so impressed. and the food is brought out, and the alcohol, quote unquote, starts flowing. A plate is brought out of meat, or a large platter is brought out with meat, and you're not quite sure what it is. M says, so M kind of comes over to you guys and kind of whispers and says, so if you just want to eat vegetables, we understand. And she says, you won't offend anybody, don't worry about it. And so would anybody like to try the mystery meat?
Toren will take a big old hunk of it.
Yeah, I'll buy it too. I've been eating rats all the time. I don't think anything could be any worse than that.
Selena's going to eat the vegetables, and she is not going to eat any of the meats. Anybody else want to try the meat?
Yes, Ramune would, as it would be rude for this local tribe's custom, or that he would feel would be rude to not partake of their offering.
Cypress will too, so I think that's everybody in the party.
Okay, so everybody roll for Constitution, but Phineas, you get it with advantage because you eat diseased rats, and so your stomach is pretty strong.
Okay, 20.
Yeah, Toren rolls a 23 on that. It's like Toren's a dwarf. Most of their blood's liquor, so he has a very strong stomach.
Exactly.
Nice.
Oh yeah, definitely. You all. So Toren, you just take a hunk and you just bite into it, no issues whatsoever. Don't even hesitate. And Emma's like, okay, impressed. Say now. I mean, Phineas and Cypress, you don't quite take as quick of a bite, but you just swallow it down and no issues whatsoever. Pretty good, pretty hearty, Same with you, Ramune. No issues whatsoever. Irene, though, unfortunately, you bite into it and you just start to, and you feel your stomach and you're like, and then the passes, and so, it's fine. You take a couple other bites, and then all of a sudden you feel like you're going to be just sick, and you
if it's worth...
Go ahead.
I think if it's worth anything, I'm immune to disease.
Right, exactly. Okay. And you try to get up and go to the woods because you feel it coming up, but you don't make it in time, and you just empty the contents of your stomach right on the grass. And they don't even seem bothered by it. They're just like, someone throws you a pelt to clean it off. They literally here you go. I mean, they seem to probably used to this. It's happened before. And M says, and M pats Irene on the back, gives you a little bit of rub and says, it's appreciated that you tried. And she kind of says, it's basically, it's okay. And so, doesn't faze them. Nobody's bothered by it. The drinks are flowing. People are kind of laughing, talking mostly in the language that they're comfortable in. But, Em is translating as she needs to. Finally, after a little while, now we're not gonna go into this too long, but I would like anybody who is going to try their drinks, let me know if you try it, and roll Constitution for that as well. Well, you don't have to let me know. Just roll Constitution.
Sounds good.
I probably won't drink.
Okay.
This is like a beer or alcohol, right?
Yeah, but you were warned that it is different.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't. I probably wouldn't drink it then.
I was like, Toren's a dwarf. He doesn't care. Alcohol is alcohol.
Right. Okay. All right. So only Toren and Ramune are trying it. Okay. All right. Okay. So Ramune, I will actually we'll talk more about the effects of this as we go in the night. But you take a sip and it's good. It's strong. You're like, oh, this isn't too bad, and you're kind of laughing with some of the guys, and even though they don't understand you too well, you're kind of getting a little bit of like symbols, hand symbols, and words here and there. And one guy specifically is telling you the story about a particularly like interesting hunt that he went on. He's kind of making gestures. He's making you, when he was a little bit embarrassed, he's kind of making you laugh, getting the words here and there. And he gives you another one, and you drink it. And then before you know it, you're like, and you just like kind of collapse in like a puddle. And he's like, oh. And he looks at everyone and he's like, and he's like pointing, like, is he okay type of points, like what happened?
I give the guy a thumbs up, and it's like, you know, like it just shows you, like, yeah, that's normal. He's fine.
And M looks and translates for him, and he's like, oh, and he's like, oh, okay. And M says, yeah, the fact that you were brave enough to try this, I think they're pretty impressed. And he said, just a little drunk, huh? And
it's like Toren then downs his flag, and is just like, oh, trust me, this stuff's got nothing on dwarven beer.
And
you want to try potent.
And she says, you know, I've always wanted to try that. I think I might do well, actually, as a dwarf. And she
like,
kind of...
and I pull out the rum. It's like, here, it's not quite dwarven beer, but it should be strong enough.
Oh, she just takes it and is like, okay, and just like takes us away. She's going to actually roll real quick. She drinks it really fast. Then we'll go to more of a reaction to Phineas actually turning, Ramune actually turning into a puddle, which is not normal for them. Okay, so I did not forget about that. Okay, Emma's going to roll Constitution, but she has a high save. And just because she drank it so fast, that's one of the reasons why this is going to possibly go bad for her. And okay, yeah, so she just swigs it down and just kind of says, God, tell me where I can get some of this stuff.
Hardenbor.
And she says, okay, well, kind of hoping that she'll get back there soon. So Phineas has turned into a puddle. Ramune has turned into a puddle, and everyone's like, and people are looking like, and Emma says, he melted. Are you sure he's alive?
Oh yeah, he's perfectly fine. This happens all the time.
And
Toren says this was just a straight face, because he's not lying. This has happened before. When you fall asleep. When you fall asleep, you turn into a puddle, Ramune.
And
you did.
Oh wait, did he turn into a puddle to stealth last week, was it?
Yeah, I did that as a stealth check, not when I fell asleep.
I thought you said you turned into a puddle when you fall asleep.
Yeah,
it
was like
to be stealthy in the grass fort. I turned into a puddle. This is the first time any of you guys have seen this. Actually, I think this might be the first time you guys see me drink.
Yeah, it's definitely the first time they've seen me drink.
I could have sworn I heard you said that, but I guess I was wrong. Okay, never mind. The Toren's trying to say this was a straight face, so that it doesn't.
And she looks over at him and she was like, well, and she says, and she, Irene, since he walked over, she says to you, she says kind of a loud whisper, is this something that happened since the event?
Yes, this is one of his newly acquired traits, as it were. Perhaps interacting strangely with your fine cuisine.
And she says, okay, let me just... And she goes over and just like explains it to the people who look like horrified. And just as she does that, Ramune is kind of coming back into shape and looks, you know, still like, but back into normal shape again. She's like, see, he's fine. And she says something to them, they're like, oh, okay. And they keep like, you think that maybe some of them might be trying to figure out like if they saw something or if, you know, there was a bit of a, let's say, it was the alcohol basically. There was a hallucination. Okay, so right as this all happens, Tool steps up and she says something. Sorry, I almost said it in common, but she says something in the language and looks at M, and M says, "Oh, the games of the bear will begin now." And she says, "Phineas, you've been summoned.
Yeah,
Step up."
Sure.
And she motions you to like stand by Tool.
And Toren just start chuckling to himself because he knows what's gonna happen.
And she motions you to go in and stand next to Tool, who is here. And Tool says in broken common, so this time she's speaking in common, and M is translating to everybody else. And she says, it seems like maybe she wants you to hear it from her. And she says, we now have the Matriarch challenge. And everyone's like clapping, and she says, survive in the pit with the Matriarch. And you see some people pull out like this big old like wooden tub, and it is a mud pit. And she just dives in and is like, you. And she points. And before you could even like say anything, people gently, not aggressively, hoist you up and throw you in, and just mud like splashes up. And M's like, oh my God. And she was like, this is gonna be good. The mud is like sticky and kind of like hard to move in. And she says, and you see a person like come up, and you see him raise his hands, and she says, oh, they're not going to even explain to him when it's time to start. Okay, they're doing. And he says something in like, now, Phineas, I'm going to go ahead and roll perception real quick. Okay. So I'm going to tell you what he's doing, but you don't realize this because I think it's kind of funny for you to know what he's actually doing. So he is actually like doing the countdown. And if you would have rolled a high perception, you would have figured by like his tone and intonation that he was like counting down to something, but you don't realize it. You're more distracted by all of the anticipation and, you know, the mud that you could barely move in and the laughing. And 1, 2, 3, Tool dives at you first before you can react. Go ahead and do a your first roll will be at disadvantage because you are surprised. Go ahead and do a dex roll or whatever your strongest.
What?
So acrobatics, if it is, yeah,
acrobatics or athletics you're doing?
Yeah, acrobatics or athletics, either one. Okay. So unfortunately, you are just knocked off your feet and you fall in the mud, and she's like holds you, not your head under, she's not trying to drown you, it's not very deep either, but she holds you in like a headlock, and you hear a band, you know, count, which is obviously counting. You apparently have lost round 1 without even realizing that it was starting. And then so this time you're kind of, you can tell when the guy is talking that he's counting down again. So this time, go ahead and roll again, and she'll roll against you. This time with you know, regular straight up save. Actually, not a save, just a roll.
I'm pretty sure suggestion is just basically me telling them what to do.
So let's look at the...
So you describe to them, you suggest something to them that seems like it would not be an unreasonable course of action for them. Mm-hmm. And they're unknown that you're actually casting a spell at the same time. Because if it fails, no big deal. They have no idea that you try to cast a spell.
Yeah.
But if they fail their save, then they follow through as long as what you're trying to say is convincing. Like it's something that they could actually do.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yep. Go ahead. She'll do a whiz save.
Yeah. So I'll basically be like go prone.
Okay.
Or like drop basically.
Okay.
Oh,
we'll
components.
You might want to reword that a bit. If you're
nope, too late. He said it. Too late.
Oh no.
He said it. All right. So he says, "Go prone," and everyone's like, "Oh," and she fails. Ooh. Okay. So she immediately hits the dirt, face in the mud, just laying.
As soon as I see her falling, I jump right on top of her.
Laying on her back, like just sitting there, and everyone is like, "What?" And Emma's like,
"Oh, and here's me whispers, "Oh, he didn't."
As soon as she seems to like go down, I jump immediately on top of her, like I'm basically going after an opportunity of her slipping.
Okay. And she looks and is like, "Did he just cast a spell?"
And Toren looks at her and just like, "Yes, I believe he did."
Toren doesn't know. Toren's never seen this spell.
But
so he has no fucking clue.
So I would say that, okay, we could say that, would Toren know that you cast this, but maybe not. Go to, you know what, go ahead and roll Arcana to see if you would know, but here's the thing. They know that something is, if you know it's actually a spell. Okay, so let's say that it's pretty clear that it is a spell because of just the way this all played out. And she crit failed. So she, like, literally just, bam. I mean, it was very, very, clear that she just did it. Now, so yeah, I had you roll just to see if you were just like oblivious, and yeah, you definitely know it's a low roll. So yeah, so it's a spell. You could just tell by watching it that this had to be a spell. And Irene as well.
Fucking killed.
And she's like, and she says, and she like looks a little bit nervous, and she says, "You guys, and she says, "Okay," and she like gets up, and you can see like you can.
Do they start counting? Do they start counting down?
Nobody's counting.
Hey, Sai, I think we'll need to do. Sai, turn to a bear. Turn to a bear.
And you can hear like a rumbling, like everybody kind of like talking and like rumbling, and just like anger and all this stuff. And you see M like run over to this guy and say something to him in like the language of whatever it is, like da 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 da. And meanwhile, Tula's still prone. She's not moving. And she says, "Irene," and she says, "Is she okay? Tell me quick."
I think.
What did you say, Erica? Sorry.
She said, "Is she okay? Tell me quick," because they don't know if she's even okay because she's just laying there, still fulfilling with the crit fail. She's completely still laying there.
I'm on top of her right now.
Okay.
Right.
And Phineas, are you still holding concentration on the spell to have her actively be prone?
I think she's like immediately when she does it, she's out of it, right? Yeah.
With the crit fail, she is going to remain like that for like a minute.
Okay, that's up to her though.
Right. No, I mean she'll get up in a minute, but like I said, she's doing it for a little bit longer of an extended period of time. Yeah. So anyway, so she's Irene, what do you do? So M asks you. She seems like she needs to tell somebody quick. So she's asking you, is she okay?
Yes, she is, and she'll be even better shortly. And I'll go and see if I can. And I'm removing Phineas. I'll be in the mud. I'm just removing Phineas off her.
Okay. She quickly
what the hell
says,
you doing? I'm winning the fight.
She quickly says something to the guy, probably assuring him that she's okay. And she goes back and she like goes and she whispers something to all the people over here. And sure enough, so you pulled. Did you pull him off?
Absolutely.
Or what exactly did you do?
Yeah, I mean, as I'm pulling him, I'm saying, "Read the room, Phineas." That was the incorrect thing to do.
No, it wasn't. She tripped.
And sure enough, you see like Tool coming out of suggestion and kind of getting up and like brushing herself up again, not seeming to be aware of what happened, just like thinking that she probably like, but hearing the chatter and it's like, what's going on here type of thing. Phineas, are you allowing Irene to pull you out of the pit?
I mean, yeah, I guess if no one's fucking counting down that I won the round.
No, they're not. They're still trying to figure out what's going on. Okay, so I'm gonna say that you're ushered back, I think, to the other side if you're leaving willingly with Irene, and M says, "What are you doing?"
Is this how you guys treat people that win in fights? You just accuse them of cheating? That's very dishonorable of you all.
I'm gonna hold Phineas's mouth shut.
That's very dishonorable of you all.
Luckily,
I'm going.
Oh, go ahead.
I'd like to channel my divinity to have +5 on my persuasion rolls, and I'm gonna speak up and channel as much of the inspiring leaderness as I can and say, this boy is not wise to the ways of your people or the ways of honor, and he does not speak for us. What the hell are you talking about? And he certainly does not speak for me.
Can I try and hold Phineas's mouth shut?
Yeah, you're just gonna cover his mouth. Yeah.
Well, I'm not letting him do that.
Oh, of course, no. You're gonna roll against that. Yeah. So we'll do that in just a second. You're definitely rolling against that. Okay. Okay. We'll say the effect of that in a second. And so Irene is giving this speech. Let's see, what's that do? Inspiring leader, right? So.
I mean, it's not literally inspiring leader, but kind of just between that and my channel divinity, just trying to get the attention. It's not actually obvious magic. There's no components or anything to it. It's just the +5 to charisma.
What's channeling divinity? I'm assuming you're like holding your holy symbol and shit, right?
Oh no, I don't have to actually.
Okay, that's good. Okay, so Irene speaks up kind of in a calming and firm but clear voice. It seems to have an effect of calming the room a little bit, quote unquote room. You're not in a room literally, but calming the atmosphere. And M is like whispering. She's kind of whispering to the group. She's like, "Guys, I don't want to know what's going to happen if you do that again." She says, "Don't use magic. I would think that would be obvious."
I didn't use magic.
And she just gives you like a death look. Like, I know you did. Okay, go ahead and roll. Oh, you already.
This man is the dumbest man alive. I said.
I didn't use magic. I won that fight. You guys are just screwing me out of it.
Wait, I'm just. Brandon, a question to Brandon. Does Phineas actually not think people noticed?
No, he's just.
Or is he trying to lie to
he's just
20 witnesses?
He's just trying to convince people.
Okay, go ahead and roll persuasion for that.
But they didn't see what they saw.
This is not for the group. This is for because it was super obvious. This is not for the group though. This is for M only.
Oh come on.
So M is like, she looks and she says, "It was something though," and she says,
"She tripped. It was that obvious."
And she just shakes her head and she says, "Look, don't do it again. Trust me on this."
I don't know how I could prevent her from tripping again. You want me to like hold her and like cradle her?
And she just looks at you and
it's like, you do that, she really will kill you.
Like, and she gives you a death look again, like a. Now you don't have to listen, but she's like gives you like a stop talking look. Now, Toren on the other hand has tried to put his hand. You tried to put your hand over his mouth, right?
Yeah, and I try to like keep him from being able to speak because he's just making this worse.
Right. And as you tried to cover it, he just takes your arm and like pulls it down and is like, "Nuh-uh," and keeps talking. And Emma's like, she's like,
I'll speak up again and I'll say, to the fine people of Vindok, who this boy has insulted, which would please your hearts more? To see
I haven't insulted
one
anyone.
of us take up your honorable challenge in a fair fight, or see him put in his place, as I can happily take up the mantle to challenge him in this activity.
I have not insulted anyone.
Can Cypress do a medicine check to see if Phineas has a learning disability?
Phineas, roll again.
Yeah, we're gonna do one more. We're gonna do one more of covering in the mouth. I didn't quite hear what you said, Cypress. Say that again, please.
Yeah, I said, can Cypress do a medicine check to see if Phineas has a learning disability?
Yes, and we will, because I like that. Go ahead and roll against that. Phineas is the last time we'll do the cover. Oh, you are. Wait, no. Yeah, go ahead and roll against the him trying to cover your mouth the second time. Okay. So this time he's able to.
He's not tall enough. He can't reach that.
He's able to. Oh, he can put his hand up a little bit, so you're able to reach out and cover your mouth. And it stops you from talking. Right.
But you are that short.
Fine then. I pin you to the ground and cover your mouth.
So it stops you from talking for like I mean, you'll be able to talk in a second, but it stops you from talking for the immediate future. And Am kind of like looks like thank goodness, and says, and again she walks over to this guy here, and his name is Devo, but doesn't matter. And she's whispers something to him, and she kind of like, and then she says thank you to Irene, and she just kind of seems to be like walking over to everybody. The atmosphere finally seems to be calming down, but the people who were Phineas and Toren moved back over here because this is where you would be. The people who were standing here kind of inch away a bit, but at least they don't seem mad anymore. So there is that, but they're kind of like a little bit sketchy. Okay, so we're
to clarify what I pitched. What I pitched, I don't know if it'll actually bite, but was for anyone else of the group to take up the challenge honorably, or for the group to wrestle Phineas in a fair fight for as a atoning effectively.
Okay, yes. Well, okay, so let's have Cypress roll. Did you roll your medicine yet? Medicine check. Oh, let's see. Okay. You can't tell. He just seems like, I don't know, maybe he just is, just in general, just has a hard time with social skills. But from what you can tell, I mean, just can't tell for sure if it's social skills or if it's something else going on.
It would just make things so much easier if we could just tell people that,
Right.
Like, oh, okay, we get it. Never mind.
We could probably still say he was dropped on his head as a child.
Right.
He's our special little warlock.
Okay, so Irene, your challenge, and Em seems to think it's a good idea. She walks up to Tool, and she says something to Tool about this challenge, and and then she goes back to Irene, and she says, someone else may challenge the Matriarch, however, and she says they don't want to see that one fight again. He's already, and she's saying this to Irene, by the way, nobody else hears this. She says they don't want to see that one fight again. They don't want him to continue cheating.
Are they still? They really say that?
No, she says this to Irene. Nobody else.
You don't know.
Yeah. And so she says, but yes, she will accept a challenger. You can take a second to decide who that will be.
Okay, so Phineas is an automatic no. Ramune is a puddle of goo.
Ramune wants to fight, though. And he's reformed. He's reformed.
Ramune is also drunk. He is yeah, Ramune would not do well. He would roll everything at disadvantage.
I am totally okay with that.
I look at Ty and just like, can I take this one?
Yeah, go ahead. My back's been feeling better since the event, but I haven't, really taken it for a test drive yet. So you go ahead and take this one, buddy.
Yeah, it's like, Toren left his face still covered in bear blood, so he takes off his armor and he walks over to Tool.
Okay, so Tool, stands up and says, "Okay, sorry, I'm translating for Tool. Okay, so Toren has decided to take back the honor of the group."
What do you
mean?
Our
friends. She kind of gives Phineas a dirty look and ignores
what do you
that
mean?
comment.
We didn't lose any honor. You guys just you guys just gave up on the fight.
Can I throw a rock at him to knock him out?
So no, we're not going to go that violent. But she does ignore him. She's not even paying attention, and nobody else can understand what he's saying. And so she's just ignoring him and trying to speak over him. And as Phineas is in the background, I didn't do anything. She's like, regain the honor of the group. So, and she says, Toren has agreed to finish this match with the Matriarch. And so she says, 2 out of 3, you all have already lost one.
We won one too.
And she says,
Toren, you only need to win one more. Remember that.
And she
like, if you don't shut up, I'm gonna.
You only need to win one more, Toren. I believe in you. I believe in you, Toren.
Right now, you're gonna get gelded.
You only need to win one more, Toren. I believe in you. I trust you.
Do you have any gelding tongs so I can shut him up?
And she says, I'm about to get some myself. And she says, and so the guy, and you don't know if she's serious or not. She might be. So Diva again does, now this time you've heard it several times, so you know that he's counting down, and they actually take a moment to explain it this time. So 1, 2, 3, go ahead and roll either strength or acrobatics. She will roll as well. Oh, good. Okay. So she rolls. Okay. All right. And so you kind of like are circling each other and going back and forth, and you're kind of she like makes the first move, but regular wrestling moves turns into a little bit of a stalemate, but eventually you get the upper hand and you manage to pin her, and it wasn't easy. It took some maneuvering, a little while. 1, 2, 3, and you've won that one. One more time. Go ahead and roll. Okay. So you've been quite tired out by this person, and maybe the alcohol's catching up with you a little bit. And you've been quite tired out by, all of the wrestling and tussling with her. And this time, she immediately just bam. And when she she gets a move, she kind of accidentally hits you pretty hard, and you just fall flat on your back and even hit your head and see stars. And she's like, 1, 2, 3, out. And she raises her hand and as the victor, and you hear Devo say something, and then M says Victor, and she pulls you up off the ground, yanks you up and back to your feet, and your head just rushes because you got up too fast, type of thing. And
Toren's gonna stumble over to the side of the thing and just start vomiting.
Right.
Phineas go up and start holding your hair back.
That's all right, Toren. You actually won because of the amount of times that I won one and you won one. So technically, that's usually one. They're just not very honorable.
And
it's
Toren
okay.
just starts crying at the fact that Phineas is still talking.
They're just very they're just very don't like losing to scrawny people.
I look at Em to like a pleading face, like, please get him away from me.
And Em just looks and just puts her hands up and says, "This is not my problem anymore. I've done what I can." And she like puts her hands up and is like, like she's done with this situation. She says to Ramune, she says, I really hope that you all don't get escorted out tomorrow. And she kind of laughs. And she says, no, we actually wouldn't do that, but he might. It's at this moment that everybody goes back to the festivities. Tool is, you can tell that she is bothered by what happened, but kind of not really saying anything. About an hour goes by. That was like the main event. There's a few other matches. They're not willing to let anybody else wrestle because of the incident with Phineas. So one of the things that wrestling matches, one of the things that you realize is that there's really no, so one of the things that's explained to you is actually that, yes, there's a matriarch right now. However, the leader can either be a matriarch or a patriarch. And it is decided by the shaman prays to the spirits, and it tells them if the next child, if the next matriarch will be born a girl or a boy. And so it just happened that this one was a girl, but the next one can be a boy or a girl, doesn't matter. It's
is
very...
Is it like family? Like it goes down like family or...
No family. No family. A person, yeah. So a person is chosen by their intelligence, by their fierceness as a warrior, and by their aptitude. And if a girl is chosen, they find the girl that fits. Now, side note, to you all who kind of know that this probably, I don't think any of you actually believe in their customs. They're probably looking for this. There's nothing magical going on, by the way, here, okay? They're probably looking for the girl who can fulfill it, and probably not necessarily being told by a spirit, but this is what they believe. And so, that's explained to you all, but there's equality. Like, there's absolute equality between men and women in this tribe, which is quite different from some other tribes that you know of in, specifically you, Toren, know about the Verdith dwarves and how it's an absolute patriarchy and women are not treated as equal citizens at all, not even close. And so in this situation though, it's that's what happens. And so, so men wrestling women, women wrestling women, men wrestling men, just everything. Nobody seems to carry their way, but overall it's a good time. Everybody seemed to have kind of forgotten about the incident with Phineas earlier. They're being nice to you all. They're being very welcoming. And finally, Tool gets up and Emma's like, oh, and she says, okay. And everybody like stands rock solid still and they're laser focused. Even the people who have been drinking a bit sit down and don't say anything. And Em stands up and she says, and Tool stands up and starts speaking in common, or starts speaking in the language. Em stands next to her and starts translating. And I will say what Em says. This has been a hard time for us. Ever since the lightning struck our world, we have not been able to live life as normal. And I am proud of how accepting you all have been to changes in our way of life. The danger would be too much for our village. And I hope that one day we will be able to go back to normal ways of life soon. Let's see. Passive perceptions. Okay.
Can I like insight to see if I think she's like translating properly?
Yes.
Or she's like lying and shit.
Yes. Now keep in mind, before you, I mean, you can, but keep in mind, there's other people that know common. Okay. There's quite a few people that know common. And nobody is reacting in any way that would show that she's lying. So I'm going to say, you wouldn't even think this. I said yes before I thought it through. You wouldn't even think that she was lying because there's a lot of people here who do know common.
Okay.
Well enough, because the store owners all know common. Maybe Phineas doesn't know that they know it. So, but I mean, you would have heard of them speaking it though. So yeah, I mean, yeah, that people know common. So she's not lying. She's translating in the best way she can. There may be some words here and there that are different, but, and so she says, so, our way of life has changed, and trade has changed, and hunting has changed. Cypress and Toren, you both noticed just the slightest edge to her voice, whatever. She's not believing what she's saying. She seems a little annoyed. She's trying to hide it, but she seems a little irritated that she's being forced to say this. And she then says, and I would like to present our guest of honor who has really embraced the spirit of the bear, Toren. And she puts her hand out and directs you to sit right here on the Matriarch's chair. And Em kind of shakes her head approvingly, oh, this is really good. And then she goes on for a minute to talk about the great honor that you've shown the village and the respect. And she is saying Toren's name again with some edge, a little bit of edge to it, meaning that she is talking about Toren and not the entire group. The speech goes on for a minute, really laying it on thick about how she really appreciates everybody getting used to their way of life, how she appreciates what everybody's been doing, what everybody's been up to. And as this is happening, you notice Jeff leave. Nobody else seems to notice. And the people, let me be more clear. Cypress and Toren notice. Nobody else. You two notice.
Who left?
Jeff.
Okay.
The second in command. He just kind of slips out. Everybody else is so enraptured in the speech they don't even notice. All right. So after a minute or so, she says, now, who will speak today? Who would like to share their thoughts and their hopes? And she opens up the floor. A couple of people speak up. You don't understand what they're saying. Nobody's translating it really, but it's not very important. People seem a little bit like, oh, okay. Would anybody like to speak up?
Irene, please don't let Phineas speak.
Phineas, by the way, is no longer pinned, so he can't speak if he wants.
If Phineas makes any move to speak, I'd stop him, but I'm just kind of chewing on it out of character for a second.
Okay.
Oh, goodness.
Okay.
Rain.
Go ahead. Oh, let me get to the rules of this. One person is going to get to say something. And you have about a minute to decide.
Okay, a minute to brainstorm. Okay.
Why don't I try?
Phineas will jump in and he'll be like, oh, okay, guys,
you guys been real swell here. Everything's good.
He doesn't get that far. Phineas doesn't
good,
get that
guys.
far. The first word that comes out of his mouth
Everything's
is
good,
stop.
guys. You guys gotta be more willing to skinny people, honestly.
So let's unpack what's happening here. So Irene, what are you doing?
I mean, in lieu of not PvP, I'd place a hand on his chest and push him far, far away.
Go ahead and do a strength save against Irene's strength, please.
A strength save?
Yeah, because she's trying to push you and you're trying to push against it, I would think, right?
I think that's still isn't that just still grappling
kind of I guess it would just be you're right. Go ahead. Go ahead and roll. Okay. So I mean you just kind of push him back.
I'll still speak up. Like
I mean you can still talk, but you're not moving forward. Okay, so what are you saying?
As I mentioned earlier, he does not speak for us.
Hey, Irene, you're being a real asshole. You're being a real asshole, Irene.
And M says, no, let him talk. M says, let him speak. Go ahead, Phineas.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, guys. You guys been real hospitable to everyone here. Not me exactly, but I appreciate how you guys have treated my friends. It's very nice. I appreciate it. You guys have a good thing going on here. You have a strong leader here. That's very good and good for y'all. I really hope you guys are trying to get through all this trouble. And yeah, it's just a good thing you guys got going on here.
And she says, and she translates for the group what you're saying. And they like, okay, they're like shaking their head neutrally. And she whispers something to Tool. And I mean, not whispers like she's trying, but says something kind of silently to Tool. And Tool says, thank you, which she's able to say in common. And she says, would someone like to speak about their... And she's basically giving you guys another chance because they're recognizing that Toren, I'm sorry, Phineas, I don't know why I mix up names like I'm going to see now. Phineas, what he was saying is fine, but it didn't quite fit exactly what they were asking for. So they're okay with another person speaking. And they do seem to like what you've said, at least be neutral to it. So she kind of looks and asks if someone else from your group would like to speak.
Like, what do they like want to hear, like generally?
So basically,
about the stuff going on.
So what they're asking for? Okay, now let me just be clear. This is not what you have to say, and what Phineas said did not meet the definition. So they're giving you guys another chance to say. What they're asking for is for you to talk about what they asked the village for is, how to talk about how the strength of the bear has guided them through this difficult time with not being able to hunt as they could and trade. And they're just asking you for a general, if you would like to share how you have been inspired by the spirit of the bear. You don't have to, but they're asking if you would like to share. Now you can say whatever you want, to be clear.
Well, I can add on if nobody else can think of anything.
No, you're done.
Yeah, no.
You're not talking anymore. They're not. They don't want you to talk again.
Wow.
All right. Well, Toren.
Place all about hospitality. Ugh.
Okay. Well, Toren has an idea. If you want to let him try.
Yeah, he can. You'll be the only one, but yeah, go ahead.
All right. Just let me get a second to think about what I'm going to say real quick, unless somebody else wants to do anything.
I mean, I know exactly what to say.
I think Toren, if you've got an idea of something to say, you should probably go ahead.
It's like I'm not gonna lie about anything. Just kind of like replace what inspired me with the bear.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll kind of get up and kind of like tell about like what life was like back in my hometown, which I didn't grow up in the patriarchal society. I grew up in the matriarchal society.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll explain that about how like, you know, I was like constantly put down, about how I couldn't really do hardly anything. So I said fuck it, left town, and went to become a great huntsman. I kind of like start showing off all the scars I got, just kind of sharing stories, kind of showing about how, you know, just raw determination kind of helped lead me to there, and kind of like how bears were kind of like a good point. It's like the first kill I ever got was on a large black bear. I kind of go through that story and kind of like how that kind of inspired me to like keep going with it, even though it's a very dangerous kind of profession I was in. I just keep kind of going off on that.
Okay. Jess enters back into the and sits down.
Does he look any different?
Nope. Not at all. And I'm not giving everyone for this. You doesn't look different, just walks back in, sits back down. Again, and Im kind of gives him like a, this time she doesn't, she kind of gives him like a where did you go look, but doesn't say anything. And so the group is pretty like, they're into your story. They understand it. They relate to, you know, the idea of being a hunter, and maybe not as much being ostracized, because this is a place that, you know, for the most part people are treated pretty equally, and so, you know, they hear your story, they appreciate the story, and they're taking it in, and Tool seems especially like, you know, happy about, or I should say, into the story. And when you're done, she kind of like gives you a nod and kind of gives you a little bit of a pat on the back, and that is the end of the talks. So the night is winding down, and everybody is going to. There's going to be a closing ceremony. Is there anything before we wind down that you all would like to do?
I heard about a shaman. I'm gonna try to talk to the shaman.
Okay. Anybody else?
I'm assuming Ramune's still drunk, so he's probably just asleep somewhere.
Right, he's like in the corner.
Toren is going to challenge him to a drinking contest.
Okay. Irene and Ramune.
Irene said he was gonna.
I think we mean Irene and Cypress.
Yeah, Irene and Cypress.
Because I am losing my mind. Yeah, Irene and Cypress.
Yeah,
sorry.
no, I guess I'll go. Cypress and Irene will go for a drink and sort of try to get over the debacle that just happened.
Okay. Okay. Let's go to your conversation with Saffron. This is Saffron right here, Phineas. This is Saffron.
Oh, okay. Yep. So I'll be like, so here's a shaman.
And she says, yes.
You got any cool abilities?
And she says,
cool things you could do?
And she says, many.
Like what?
She looks at you suspiciously because she realizes that your definition of abilities is probably different than hers. And she says, herbs, and I make my herbs, and I burn my candles. We're not in my hut. And she says, and she looks at you suspiciously, like, what are you talking about?
What do your candles do? Like are you just like a healer?
And she nods her head yes, and she says, I heal and I smoke the bad spirits away.
You smoke the bad spirits away?
And she says, yes. There are bad spirits.
Can I like, I have like stuff to like ask you. I don't know if like it'd be better to do like, I'd like talk to you about bad spirits and like and stuff like that. Like I don't know if that'd be better to like ask you like in your hut or not.
And go to roll persuasion. She's extremely wary of you, and I don't know if she wants to talk to you. Okay, she'll roll against that. Okay. And she just narrows her eyes and she says, no.
No?
No.
Why no?
Here. And she says, and she holds out your hand. She like puts her hand out for you to hold her out in her hand. Your hand.
Okay, I'll hold my hand. I was like I kind of like want to like your advice on like how to fight bad spirits and stuff.
She kind of looks confused, and she takes your hand and she like feels the lines in your hand a little bit, and she says, I see. And she says, loose lips. And she says, bring red. And she gives you a look.
Loose lips bring red?
And she says, blood. And she puts your hand back. Now, M is actually over here, I'm going to say. She is starting to laugh. And she puts her hand back at you and she says, loose lips bring blood and pain. And M is laughing. And she says, and I see. And she like takes her finger and makes like a head, like, you know, like the head cut off motion. And Emma's like, okay. And she like comes over. And
I'm trying to like find out about like dark spirits and stuff. Not fucking made up things that you don't like about me.
She brings Saffron over and she just like pulls her over away from you and says, walks back up to Phineas and says, just ignore what she just said. That wasn't a real. She needs her crystals to do that.
Yeah, I need like advice on like bad spirits and stuff. So like I was like genuinely serious.
And I don't think she's in the mood right now. Maybe try again later.
You guys are like very like, I don't know, guys. You guys have been like very like rude to me like this entire time.
You ain't exactly been kind in turn, Phineas.
What have I not done that's kind?
Well, you basically insulted them at every turn.
How?
By existing, in a way.
See, you can't even name it.
And she looks at Phineas, she folds her arms and she looks at Toren and she looks at Phineas and she says, let's see. We've been rude to you. So we've taken you into our village, fed you, gave you a place to sleep, put you in a place of honor at the village. By the way, wrestling the Matriarch was a huge honor.
And I did that.
Insulted. And she
did not.
We fed you, we gave you a place to sleep.
And I tried to help out with you guys, and everything I touched, you guys looked at it like it was the plague.
And she says, okay, if that's how you want to see it. And she walks away.
That's what happened. It wasn't how I saw it.
And she just walks away, refusing to engage anymore. She says something to Saffron, and they start a conversation with Selene. They're probably not going to talk to you anymore. Okay,
these guys are real rude. I don't even want to help these guys anymore.
You know, Phineas, if they try to gild you, I ain't gonna try and stop them.
I have no idea what that is.
You don't want to know.
You do not want to know.
Okay, who was next? Sorry, I forgot what the other things people were doing. I know that drinking contest with them, right? Okay. Yeah, okay. Go ahead and roll. Oh, Emma's all for this. She's 100% in. Go ahead and roll Constitution, and she will definitely challenge you here.
All right, it's one of the 2 saves Toren is good at. And he beans it,
Okay, so you go ahead and you do the first drink, and you do 1. And second drink, 2. You're starting to feel a little bit woozy, and she's like, "Are you in for a third?" And you kind of like you seem like, you know, really committed to winning this, and so you start to take the third, and you sip it, and you just start to feel like, and you cannot go any further. Em, on the other hand, though, just knocks it back and is like, "Ha! I thought dwarfs can drink." She's not saying this in a rude way. She's saying it in a very, like, kind of, you know, good-natured, teasing way, kind of laughing. And she says, "I guess not all dwarfs can drink, huh?" And she kind of laughs, and she puts her hand up, and she's like, "Victor." And so yeah, she's pretty good. She won. So, and just for good measure, she takes off of another one and is like, okay, now she's pretty drunk at this point, but she's like at that happy drunk point, so, you know, she's not falling over. But, you know, she seems impressed again that you actually, you know, tried it with their alcohol that is not anywhere near what you would get in town. Maybe in you know, where you're from, you would definitely have seen stuff close to this, but, you know, nothing in the city. Okay, so who else? There was one other thing. I don't remember what it was. Or was it?
I said that Cypress and Irene were gonna go have a drink and maybe sort of try and get over what just had the debacle that happened with Phineas and sort of undermining the group's goals and putting us in danger.
Yeah, okay. and after the drinking contest, Toren just like says, "You know what? I'm gonna have fun. He's gonna get blackout drunk."
Okay.
Oh yeah, so Toren will be there too.
Okay, cool. So would anybody? Okay, so we're gonna continue drinking, and then we're gonna wind down. This is the one. I would like. Let's see, Toren. We'll just say that you don't have to roll. You're just continuing to have fun with this, and you're really drinking a lot. Probably trying to get over the crazy stuff that Phineas did. I would like Irene and Cypress to do one last con save, please.
Oh, I'm not even drinking. The drink's just in my hand. I've already thrown up once for the night, so I'm not going to.
Okay, so you're not drinking. Okay, cool. Yeah. So Cypress, you take a smell, take a sniff, take a sip. Oh, it's not too bad. Drink down the whole thing, and just, I mean, pretty close to the same reaction as Irene. You don't even make it to the bushes, and you actually end up hitting Saffron. And she's just like, ugh. And then she's just like, ugh. She shrugs, and again, someone throws you a pelt to wipe it off. She wipes it off first, actually. It's kind of gross. And she gives you the same one to wipe yourself off. These people are not germaphobes, clearly.
I almost drunkenly casted prestidigitation. But right. Yeah, that wouldn't go over well.
Right. Well, yeah, luckily you have the fortunately you still have the insight not to cast prestidigitation. And so okay, so would anybody now, so this is where we are at now. We're gonna close the ceremony, but one quick last thing. And we're definitely gonna run a little bit over, but that's okay. So, but we do need to close the ceremony. So, Irene, is not drunk. Feeling a little, I would say, nauseous from the food, but you're okay. So your stomach is bothering you a little bit. Ramune, Cypress, Toren are drunk pretty badly. Phineas, you haven't drank, so you're good, but nobody's really talking to you. This is the state that we're in.
Phineas is probably like sulking in the
sulking in the corner. Yeah. Right. Okay. This is just the state that you're in. I'm not this. That you don't have to let this affect the decision of what I'm about to say. But I'm just stating what everybody is. What state everybody's in right now. Would anybody like to broach? Anybody can do this. Broach the subject of the information you've learned right now, or do you want it? You don't have to. What would you like to?
Like bring it up to the matriarch, or
whomever you think could, whoever you think could like take an approach to do anything about it, or we can.
If they don't do anything, I want to see if I could track where Jeff went.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can definitely do that.
So I'll pass by, because I notice Irene's the only one that's not fucking hammered, and I'll let Irene know what I'm doing.
Yeah, Erica, you're starting to static pretty bad.
Oh, am I?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay, hold on. Let me. Can you guys understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Wait, hold on a minute. It just stopped.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Let me know if that comes back. By the way, let me know right away. I'll leave and come back. Okay. So So you're gonna tell Irene that you're gonna go ahead and try to track what Jeff is doing, and you're gonna tell Irene, right?
Yeah. I'm telling Irene that.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. So just pass by Irene and be like, yeah, I'm gonna see what Jeff was doing.
You're not acknowledged in any way.
Okay. All right. So go ahead and head out this way.
I probably try to stealth off this way.
Okay. Go ahead and roll stealth. Okay. Yeah, because that's a decent roll, and everybody is pretty either drunk or involved, and nobody sees you walk off. Okay.
Should I roll survival to try to track where he went, or?
Yeah, in just a second, we're gonna go ahead and.
You're doing the stacking again.
Okay, hold on. Is that better?
Yeah, it might be like you're sometimes it's when you're your aux cord going into your computer or your USB, it might be slightly ajar.
Let me see if I could.
Yeah, normally with the static like that, there's a short. Something's getting grounded out.
Okay. Okay, hopefully this doesn't. Okay, all right. Okay, so I've moved this now to the I haven't yet. Okay. So Phineas, you go kind of moving off of the screen. Now everybody else, you're on this. Your tokens are here, but you are not able to see this. I mean, you're not here really. I'm just doing this so you can see it. Okay, so you're not actually here. Here you go. Okay. All right. Go ahead and roll survival, please.
What, me?
Yes. Okay. All right. So you kind of are looking around and kind of looking in the area. This is the area where he went, kind of behind some bushes and some trees. You notice some disturbances in the trees and then in the woods up here a little bit. Very subtle. It's in this area. Up
there?
Here. Yeah.
Okay, then I don't like see anything like weird, do I?
You don't see anything other than some. This doesn't look right. Look like some things were put where they were, purposely. Kind of specifically.
I don't see like any like animals or like.
No, you don't see
right?
any animals. Nope, you don't see animals. But it looks like something has been done purposely. Okay, so, stop right there.
Stop
okay.
there.
Actually, keep going. Not quite yet. I mean, go where you want, but
I'll go like one at a time.
Okay, stop.
Okay.
Go ahead and roll. Actually, tell me, what are you doing up here? Like, are you?
Well, this is like where he went. Did he like? Does it? I just want to like see if like it looked like he was meeting up with somebody or if he was doing something weird.
Okay, I'm gonna have you roll investigation for this.
Oh, bad. Oof.
Okay. All right. Keep going. Do what you want. You don't notice anything yet? Still looking around.
Like it was like over here, you said, like by the rocks.
I didn't say anything specifically. I just said in this general area. So I would say like some stuff is like disturbed over here, over here, over here. Like let me. Like,
yeah, I don't know. Like if I don't see like anything here, I don't know. Is this like a cliff?
No.
Or going up or down?
Okay, stop. All right. You hear a click, click, click. You have one action that you can do, and you have to do it quickly. You can do one thing.
I hear clicks?
Yes.
On a rock on the ground, I cast darkness.
All right. So you cast darkness, and all of a sudden you hear a clang, and in front of and over you, a cage falls on your head.
Damn. Okay.
Loud. With that loud noise, you hear someone. And it is Jeff.
He can't see me. Unless he can see through magical darkness.
Right. But he did hear, like maybe he was, you don't know, but he did hear, at least as far as you know. He might have seen it, he might have been watching, you never know. But he did hear at least, you can deduce a cage fall. And he walks over and he starts speaking to you, but you can't understand what he's saying, unfortunately. And he seems to remember that you can't understand. And you see him pull the cage, and he pulls it off of you. And actually, no, I'm not gonna have him do that. Let me have him do one thing first. He's gonna run and get M. He does pull it off of you, but so he can also communicate, he goes and gets M. That's what he would do first. So he runs out real quick, comes back a couple minutes later, or maybe even a minute later, pretty quickly because he probably ran and got her, and then he comes to get to M. They both pull the cage off of you, and then M says, "What are you doing?"
I'm in darkness.
Huh?
I'm in darkness still.
Right, you're in darkness, but you don't. So they know it. They know
they can see me.
Well,
they can't see you, but they know you're there.
They know it's me, though.
Yes.
They specifically know it's me.
They specifically know it's you.
I try to change my voice. What do you mean?
And she steps into the darkness, kind of feeling around. And
I'll pick up the rock that I casted darkness on.
Okay. She ends up
and keep avoiding her.
And she's like, ugh. and she says something to Death, and she says, and she says, okay. I mean, I don't know why you're hiding. He saw this happen. And
why are you guys trying to drop cages on people?
And she says, actually, I would like to know that, Jeth. Why is there a... And then she says something in common, and she says, I just asked him why there was a cage trap in this area. That is an interesting question. And he says something to her, and she says, there's no need for a cage trap in this area at night. As the Queen of the Hunt, I didn't authorize this. And then she says that back to him. She's repeating this as she says it to you. And
this is just happening in darkness.
Right. Yeah. No, they're okay, let's say they're not in the dark. Sorry, they're not in the dark.
Yeah, they're like, are they just standing outside? Okay.
Yeah, they're standing outside, but they know it's you. Apparently he saw the whole thing. For some reason he was watching. Okay, so maybe he followed you, you don't know this yet. So they are so they're she's talking to him and she's translating, and she's like, I didn't authorize for there to be a cage trap here. Why was there a cage trap here? Very, very sternly. And she says, this isn't safe around the ceremony. Why there are children here. Why did you do this? Very, very stern. And you can, even though you can't tell what he's saying, he's stumbling over words in the language. You could tell that. And she says, Phineas, can you come back with us, please?
Yeah. I'll drop the darkness.
Okay. And so, and she's mad. You can tell her she's mad. But not at you, at him.
Yeah, I don't. I saw the whole thing. I don't know. I was just checking out to make sure everything was okay over here.
Go ahead. You know what? She's so mad at him. She's not even. Number one, she seems to have not even be thinking about the fact that you did darkness. Maybe she is, but she's not asking about it, at least not now, because she's very irritated at Jeff. And she's not even really concerned with what you're saying about that. So, all right, you're going to all head back. So you go back to the ceremony with them, right?
Yeah, I'll follow him.
Okay, cool. All right. So Em immediately goes up to Tool, and Jeff is kind of slinking up, and she says to Tool, she says something to Tool, and Tool says something back to her, and Tool, and now nobody else knows what's happening, obviously. So Jeff, Tool, and leave the what am I trying to say? Leave the
party
scene. Yeah, they leave the ceremony.
Yeah, I'll go over to Irene and be like, yeah, that shit just went down, and then just explain which went down.
Okay. Then you see so they're gone for maybe a couple minutes. Em comes back alone, and she is furious. Her face is red. She comes back. She gets surgeon. Now, to be clear, so you told Irene what was going on. Okay, so are you watching this too, Irene? Because nobody's really noticing this. I'm telling you right now, none of the other people are noticing this.
I mean, I've ignored Phineas, but if there's actual movement of people, then I'll cast an eye.
Okay. So, okay, great. So, yeah. So, she gets Surgeon, and you guys have no clue what's going on. She brings Surgeon back, and they're gone for a while. They don't return to the ceremony. And the ceremony ends. There is a closing. There's a closing. Now, you did notice that this guy here, whose name is Ver, let me just put it this way. Ver leaves for a minute and then comes back, and he does the closing ceremony, seemingly filling in for whatever, in their absence. Seems distracted. Ceremony is over, and everybody goes back to their tents. We are going to go to the next morning. And okay. So I'm just assuming everybody sleeps at this point. Y'all are pretty drunk. Honestly, probably most of you would just sleep, right?
Yeah. Toren kind of just flumps on the ground after carrying the Ramune back.
Okay.
Can I talk to my sword? Or try to?
Yeah, let's go ahead and let's do that real quick. Let's go in private chat. We'll do that real quick.
Okay.
I'm honestly surprised Phineas didn't get himself killed after casting Suggestion.
Yeah. I don't know. Am I crazy, or is it kind of just like not fun being in a group with Phineas the character?
In this specific instance, yes. Usually it's hilarious, but not right now.
I mean, especially playing a character who cares, usually it's not hilarious, and this is just the logical conclusion of Phineas a character. Because I mean, this is the same thing he's been doing the entire time, except now he's sabotaging situations and plot points that we've been building for 2 months.
Yeah, like there was no way for us to just like sort of do our thing and ignore Phineas. Like whatever we had to do, it had to like deal with like whatever Phineas was doing like during the event. It was like just overtook the whole thing.
I am 100% agreement with that. That is not fun.
Because at the end of the day,
it feels like he's doing chaos for the sake of chaos.
Yeah, and he's always lying to us. Always. Like, come on.
How can you truly justify your character using magic on these people 4 times with no self-awareness?
He should have played into the learning disability. It would have covered up everything.
And then calling them racist and throwing the word around is particularly insulting.
Yeah.
Chaotic evil's one thing, chaotic retard is another.
And he's saying that he's good, is the thing. It's like... Yeah, we're not in on whatever he's doing, it's like, I don't know.
And at the end of the day, the alignment doesn't even matter if he's not cooperating.
And he really isn't. It's like, I don't mind antagonistic characters as long as, they're not doing it to be assholes.
Oh yeah, there's a version of Phineas that is hilarious. That isn't constantly self-victimizing, calling things racist, sabotaging the party, insulting people.
Hey, welcome back.
Okay, so
all
right. So you guys are all asleep, right? We decided that. Okay, so next day, M comes to the early. Kind of interesting considering how drunk she got, but she comes early and she is very, very serious. She comes in and she says, she doesn't come in, but she kind of calls and she says loud enough, she says, "Everyone." And she says, "We need your presence at once. I'm sorry to disturb you, but it is crucially important."
What?
Says,
Damn, is that you?
And she says, "Yes, it's me." And she says, I'm sorry. Whoever can come, please come with me at once."
Sure.
Oh, God.
You okay, Toren?
Yeah, I'll be fine in a minute.
She kind of...
As long as I don't have to drive a carriage.
Right. Okay, who's coming?
I will.
Irene will go.
I will go as well. Hey,
okay.
How useless is Ramune?
Ramune had 1 drink and then went to sleep.
He's a lightweight. Okay.
That was literally all that has happened with Ramune. So I would feel that Ramune be okay by now.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be okay. Everybody who was drunk last night is hungover and their head is pounding, but nothing that would let's say inhibit what's about to happen. Just feeling sick. Y'all can come if you want. You can stay. Let me ask who's not coming. Maybe I should ask that way. That probably has fewer responses. Okay, it looks like everybody's coming. Selene is going to stay in the tent, as she's not really part of whatever it is, or at least she doesn't think she does. Recognizing this is maybe something to do with what you guys were, hired, not really hired, but asked to do here, she just doesn't go. Okay, so M takes you all to the Matriarch's hut. Sitting on the ground is and let me put them in the order that they are. Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to do this. She actually takes you to the chapel. So let me drop the characters out. We have the elders. We have this guy. This person. And this person. And I'm going to drag you to this in a second. I just didn't quite plan to do it this way, so I'm going to do a couple of things. Last but not least, M. There you go. And Jeff. Okay. Selene, goodbye. And I'm going to move you over to this. Okay. So she brings you all to not the chapel. Well, I call it the chapel, but it's not really the chapel. It is a meditation. She says to the meditation room. You notice that both Tool and Jeff are sitting on the ground. And M and the three other council are standing over here. And M, who's just what you was actually over here. And so she says, so we found out something very interesting last night that Tool and Jeff cannot explain. Perhaps you guys can fill in the blanks. And Tool is like looking down, like angry, like fuming.
How can we explain?
Yeah, what happened?
And she says, oh, I'll get to it. And she looks at, now, this anger is not directed at you all, by the way. I think I said that in a way that made it sound like you guys have to explain yourselves. This is an anger at Jeff and Tool. And she's basically talking to you about whatever she's about to say. And she says, we found a large hoard of gold in a hole that was right around the trap that was set by Jeff that neither of them want to talk about. And she says, I think that you all have some information that may shed some light on why we would find such a thing. And she looks at the group and says, since the other elders are not believing me, can you please, and she looks at Irene specifically and she says, can you please tell us about, I'm sorry, Toren, because Toren told you, sorry, Toren. And she says, can you please tell us a little bit more about what you've learned that may explain this?
I'm just like, wait, is this about what you and I talked about earlier?
And she says, yes, and I haven't told them. Say what you'd like to say.
Hey, Irene, could I have that thing I gave you?
Yeah, I'll hand it to her.
I don't show it to him yet. It's like, so, Tool, I've heard that you had an adopted son that disappeared about 6 months ago. And I show the stone, and I show the wooden carving. Is this his?
She looks at you. Go ahead and roll perception. We're not going to do 100 rolls, but this specifically I want to do a roll for. Let's see who has passive. Perception is pretty high. eyes, Cypress, and again. Okay, you know what? I'll say that you notice this because I do want you to know to notice this. Okay, so you look at she doesn't seem surprised by you pulling this out at all, but she doesn't respond.
I'd like to tell a little interesting story to you, Tool. So before we were hired to come here, we were hired to find a missing shipment of furs. And we encountered 3 bandits, one of which was carrying this. You know, it was quite odd when we found this because he was quite insistent of us not selling it. He was very insistent. He said, he said his mother gave it to us. At first we didn't really give this any thought until we came here and saw that M has a very similar one to this one, and that the carvings matched the exact to the ones that are here. And
go ahead.
And I told M about what this man looked like. And she says, this looked exactly like the man that was described as your adoptive son.
And M says, can I see that, please, for a moment?
Yeah.
She takes it and immediately looks at the bottom and says, and shows it to them, and it gives them a look like, this is his type of look. And says, explain this. Why would they have gotten this from a bandit, Tool? And raises her eyebrows and gives it back to you. And she says, Tool is still not responding to anything that you said, and she's just looking ahead. And she says, okay. And she looks back at Toren, and she says, would you like to tell us anything else about this?
Well, we captured him. He put up a little bit of a struggle. Not much, but that's kind of because we surprised him. And he is now sitting in the jail in the prison in Ardenborn, awaiting sentencing for robbery and hopefully him not being connected to a murder.
I'm going to bring Froll in. Pretend she was here the whole time because I want her to say something that seems to fit with her the most. Although anybody could say it, but I think this fits her the most. Come on, Froll. Drag to there we go. I have 2 Frolls now. Okay. She's sitting watching this whole thing as a witness. She looks at Toren and she says, when did you pick this person up? How long ago was that?
No more than a week. Why?
She looks at M and eyes wide, and then she looks at Jeff, eyes wide. And she says, a week ago, and then she says it in the language. And M looks and just, she seems to not quite be getting what Froll is getting at, but she's trying to think about it, and she says, is there anything else that you could tell us about finding him? Or
if you want to explain, like, money, they stole a bunch of valuable stone carvings, and
he was in a gang. I don't know. Yeah.
And the bandit leader said he stole a bunch of them and sold them, and allegedly gambled all the money away. But
and M shakes her head and says, what kind of carving and what kind of stonework?
Dwarven stonework, from the Sisters of Stone. From the Sisters of Stone.
You see some realization come over her face, and she was like, those sell for, and she looks at Froll and she says, yes, Jeth, when were you? She says, Jeth was in Ardenborn about a week ago. He was on a trip that he didn't want to tell me about, and I thought that was a little weird, even though we weren't trading there. He was visiting someone. And she says, who are you visiting? Again, just assume if I say something, she's saying it in their language, she's translating it. Who are you visiting? Finally, Jeth looks up, stands up, and he just starts blah, 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 blahing. And translating says, comes back to you all, and she says, he says it was all Tool. And he's still going. And she says, and the elders step forward, still maybe not quite convinced, but they're at least listening now. I mean, there's some things that are starting to add up, right? Too many coincidences here. And they definitely saw the cash hoard that was there. Too many things are adding up, and they're starting to believe there's some major connections here. And they look at Tool, and they say something to her, and she bows her head, and she says, "All right." And she says, I will resign my position from the Matriarch. As the Matriarch. If you will be kind to Jeth.
What was the deal with the cage, though?
And M says they'll get to, and M kind of lowers, like they're going to explain, kind of like they'll get to it.
Okay.
And she does say this. She says, "Hold on," and she's looking intently at Tool, and Tool says, "If you let him go, he was just doing what I told him." And M says, she takes a deep breath and she says, I accept that I have dishonored our tribe, but I had to. My son, Toren, ran away about 6 months ago. He eventually wrote me a letter and said that he had joined a bandit gang. Of course I was upset. I was angry. However, I felt like I had to keep him safe. We, the Vindalk barbarians, have always kept the region safe from bandits, and we have always intervened, and we have always kept them away. In fact, they don't even come around here anymore because they know that we will take care of them. And so I told him that if he had to be a bandit, if he would only do it in our area, that I would give him free reign of the area. So I stopped the trade so that nobody would run into him on a trade route, and that they wouldn't know that what he was doing. And also, it was easier. It was easier for our village, for us not to have to go out in danger anymore. She lowers her head and she says, and so, secretly, he's been working with me, and he's been acting as a bandit. I told him not to leave this area, but he became arrogant and wanted to get from under his mother's wing, and decided that he would go to the more lucrative route around Ardenborn, and I'm assuming that's where he was caught by you.
You know, there's a very disturbing coincidence. Is like, in the area where they were operating, there was another caravan.
Yeah.
Where all of the crew were found butchered.
Do you know anything about that?
So the crew weren't found butchered, they were just missing.
Oh.
They're missing. Yeah, but I'm glad you remembered that. And she says, no. And she says, although I don't know my son anymore, I don't think that he has a stomach for kidnapping. And then she looks up and she says, I don't know. And I, of course, would not approve of that. One of the things that he agreed to before we made this agreement was not to be violent. And I hope he has held that at least. And she puts her head down and she says, I ordered Jeff, my second in command, because I knew that I could not get M to do this for me. M kind of looks proudly. She is way too strong-willed to be made to do anything, clearly. And he says, I ordered him to go to Ardenborn area to look for my son. He didn't find him, but he did see, actually, when your group brought him in. I knew immediately, the minute that you came in the village, that it was you. He told me, in fact, that you were the people who he saw bring in death. So, bring in Torv. So, I tried to put you off the idea of looking into this problem anymore, but it did not work. And she puts her head down and she says, I have dishonored the village.
I mean, it's not that bad. Protecting your kid isn't that bad.
And she just looks down.
I see honor in that, like, yeah.
And M actually kind of considers what Phineas is saying, and she says, I can understand being desperate and protecting your son, but this wasn't the answer, Tool. And she says, Surgeon immediately will take the role of the matriarch, and the punishment of both our former matriarch, Tool, and Jeff will be decided by the council. And she looks back at the group and says, I suppose you have to report this back to the government?
I mean, yeah, they kind of hired us to figure out what was going on here, and...
Was this a government thing or just Simic? Or Simic
it was
the
just
government?
Well, probably tell Simic at the very least. He was the one who hired us to come out here.
And she shakes her head and she kind of does a sigh of relief and she says, I will not be worried if you tell Simic. I think that he will allow us to and she thinks of the word, do our own form of justice, and of course we will compensate those who've lost what they've lost, returning the gold immediately. And she looks at the two of them and then she says to Simic so he can give it to the victims. And she says, anything else that you think that we need to know?
If you could...
What was with the cage?
And she says, the cage. And she says, oh, that was a trap that Jeff put in front of the hole that you almost found. That was hiding the stash. And so in case anybody ever approached it, they would be caught.
Okay.
But I'm glad that you found it, because that was actually his undoing. That was a pretty stupid idea. And she looks at him and says, and she kind of looks at him and she says, you didn't think I would ask questions when you brought me back. And he just kind of looks down. And she looks at you all and she says, anything else you think we should know?
Oh, when you deliver all the stuff back, could you tell Simic what went on for us? Because we're not getting back to Ardmore. We were hired by... I point to Celine. It's like, we were hired by her to take her back to Arkansas, so we ain't going back to Ardenborn for a little while.
And she shakes her head and says, yes. Do you, but I want to be clear. I think that you should also send a letter as well, because I want this to be, and she says, honorable. And what she's getting at is that she feels ashamed of the situation, and so she wants you all to also send a letter so that you can assure that Simic gets all the right information.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, so she agrees to do that. Okay, so is there anything else you all want to say to them? And if not,
I don't think so. No.
Okay. All right. So you are escorted out kindly, and the two of them are taken away. We will go back to the other screen. Okay. So you all have figured out what happened. We're almost done. We're really close. So probably about 15, 20 more minutes. I said up to an hour, so we're going to be plenty into that hour or before that hour. Okay, so you all are able to. They take them away and they escort you all back to your tent. Selena's already gotten dressed, and with her is Yara. Yara has a little bag. She has some food, and she seems really excited to be going with you all. She is quite bonded with Selene. She has like her hair has been braided in the same little like style. I think I told you guys that there was like a popular style that you had noticed both with what am I trying to say? Both with Esta and also with Selene. And she is wearing that style. And she is, pretty happy as a clam, just kind of like, ready to go back. Is there anything else that, the village, sorry, let me ask this question first before I say what they do to send you off. Is there anything else you all want to do in the village? So Ramune, you are given your mask. It is from Thrall. She brings it to you. Very high quality, very nice. Just a lot nicer than what you had. What you had was okay, but these people she is a master woodworker craftsman, and she brings you this just like beautiful mask, very high quality, and she hands it to you and just puts her, she doesn't even want payment for it. She appreciates that you all helped them with whatever was happening.
I'd probably want to go to the shaman, and I'd probably ask somebody to go with me.
Okay, we'll do that really quick because we do.
And be like, I just want to see if she knows, if she could like tell anything about my sword.
Okay, got it. Yeah, I like that. Okay.
I'll go with them just to, and while I'm doing that, it's like I'll write. It's like I tell Irene, it's like, hey, I'll write the letter if you don't mind. So while I'm with Phineas, I'll jot down that letter to send back with the tribe when they bring back all that gold.
Okay. So Phineas and so Toren jots on the letter. Then Phineas and Toren go to see Saffron. And so where are you, my Saffron? You are not on the screen. Let me bring you on. All right, so you go ahead and head to her hut. She doesn't seem exactly annoyed to see you, but she's not like, hey, how y'all doing, type of hello. Maybe remembering a little bit of the kind of strange things that you said to her that kind of, were a little bit weird, but she greets you all, and she just kind of looks and says, fortune.
Sure.
And I'll put up my hands like, ask me what you want to do so I can talk to her. Just because you seem to have annoyed her.
I don't know.
Last night.
I just want to see if she can figure out anything from the sword, get anything from it. Because like she says she can do spirit stuff, so I don't know if it's like a spirit or what in this sword.
Okay. So you're just gonna hand her the sword, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. She'll take the sword and she'll feel it in her hands. And her eyes go wide. She closes her eyes. The sword actually starts to reverberate again.
Oh shit.
She feels the sword down the blade with the palm of her hand. And she hands it back to you.
Okay.
She's quiet for like a minute or so. Before she takes the sword back, before she again asks for for you to give her the sword back, and then she closes her eyes and she says, "This was once used by someone who is tortured." Someone who was guilt-ridden. Is it you? And she looks at Phineas.
I don't think so.
And she shakes her head and she says, someone who was brought dishonor onto himself. And she says, I would be wary. The sword might bring that to you. I don't see the person's face, but I feel that they did some things that were not okay to their moral fiber.
Okay, it's like can't tell if it's like evil or anything.
She closes her eyes and seems to be thinking. She reaches into one of her pouches and throws up some powder. And she says, I don't know. That's all I have.
Okay.
You might want to get a different sword.
This is like what gives me power. I don't know, dude.
well, it's like, that power might come back to bite you one day.
I don't know. Kind of only been like good things been happening so far.
I mean, to be fair, you did steal it from another person.
That guy got struck by lightning and he got evaporated. Okay, the sword then called to me.
As we all know, theft is a-okay as long as it benefits yourself, right?
Right, exactly.
That guy I don't think the sword can belong to somebody that's been evaporated. Okay.
That guy was disintegrated.
Maybe he's not really dead.
Who knows?
Great. If we had to fight a ghoul going forward, that's gonna be great.
Right.
I mean, I'm a hexblade, so eventually I can summon a specter.
Yeah, never know. Okay, so that's really all she had. I want to move out of the village so we can finish up what we're doing. So is there anybody, just real quick, is there anything else anybody, well, let me add this, because I don't want to be like, we got to do this next. Is there anything really important that you want to ask her? I definitely want to make sure that we do that. If there's anything else important you have to say to her.
It's like, do you know like, the shapeless mean anything to you?
She looks and she looks at the sword and she says, "It's not shapeless."
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. She seems to think you're referring to the shape of the sword.
Yeah. No, I was like, okay, thank you.
Okay. Anything else you want to ask her before you go?
No, unless Toren wants to ask something.
Nope. It's like I'll just when he leaves, I go hand the letter to him, and I go back to the tent.
Okay, cool. All right, so they are going to be sending you off. Now, unfortunately, I forgot to do something with all the things I did for the session today. So I will give you your items next week. However,
we get items.
They have gifts for you. And so the gifts, I'm going to tell you what the gifts are, even though I don't know exactly what they are. I know what one of them are. So I came up some items that I found. So because they are obviously hunting village, we've talked about that 1,000 times. I'm a broken record there. They gift you guys with special types of arrows. I know, or crossbow bolts, or what, I believe that everybody here can use either arrows or crossbow bolts. So they give you 3 different types. The type that I remembered to look up, and I decided it was going to be 3 different types. So there's going to be 5 of each. Okay, so you have to, if you're using this type of arrow, you have to tell me that you're using it before you use it, and you have to tell me, and you have to keep track of the 5. Now, I will tell you the properties. I'll put those in chat this week, but I will tell you right now that these arrows all have a special property to them. So 3 different types, 15 arrows basically, 3 different types, all with properties. So we'll talk about that in chat. So they gift you with those. And, just for the things that you've done for the village, because they like that you got the bear and were able to present that to them for their ceremony and all of that. Anything else you want to do to the village before we head out? Okay, so they see you all. So you all head to Harkenstow, and you head down the road to Harkenstow with the group plus little Yara and Selene, and both were sticking very close by Irene. Harkenstow is quite a few days away, so you do take a rest the first night, and just to it's going to take you about 4 days to get there.
Can I actually find some flowers?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know if I roll for anything like that.
Right, that is Irene. I love that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead and roll nature for that. Okay. What type of flowers are you looking for?
Any that look pretty.
Pretty flowers. Okay. Yeah, you have a couple of flowers, couple of little orange flowers. Not the rarest flowers, but they're nice. What do you want to do with them?
I'll kneel down to go to Yara and kneel down there. It's like, here you go, Yara.
Yara seems thrilled, and she takes the flower and she says, "Thank you." This is the first you've heard this child talk, and she puts a little flower in her hair and goes to Selene and points at the flower to show her that she has it. And Selene's like, "Oh, that's beautiful, Yara," and she gives her a little hug. She just looks up at you and says thank you again. Seems to really, maybe she's warmed up to you a bit. She's a very, very shy little girl, so she doesn't talk much. Okay, anybody else want to do anything? We're going to actually do a watch for tonight.
To give her something to do, it's like, hey, Yara, you want to have a little job?
And she just looks at you curiously.
It's like, and I pull out the little rabbit, and it's like, I can't really take care of this guy. Would you like to?
She shakes her head, yes.
And I take the little rabbit out of the cage, and I give him to her.
When did you get a caged rabbit?
I've had him for a while.
He's had him since we were in Mesa Wood.
Oh God.
Yeah. So she takes the rabbit and she is petting it, and she's hugging it and just petting it. She seems to really like the rabbit, and she's just sitting there, and Celine is sitting next to her, and they're both talking, and she says, "What's his name?"
One yet. You want to keep him?
And she shakes her head yes.
And it's like, okay, he's yours now. You can name him.
And she looks at the rabbit and she says, "Lucky." And so she's like playing with the rabbit and talking to Celine and talking to Irene. And Celine kind of tells her, okay, Celine is just taking on this motherly, type of persona. She's like, okay, Yara, time to go to bed. You and put Lucky in his cage and go to bed. And she directs Yara to go into a tent and to take the rabbit with her. So Yara goes into a tent, and Celine also says that she's going to turn in. It's actually pretty late by this time. So I'd like to know who's going to do the first watch, please. 2 people.
I will.
Okay.
I'll go on the second watch, I guess.
Second watch. Okay, first watch.
Sai, you want to join me on first watch?
Oh, how many watches do we have in total?
2. So let's do. Sorry, I didn't explain that clearly. Let's do 3 and 2. So Phineas is second.
I'll go on the first one then.
Okay, Irene first. So let's say, is everybody else okay going on the second one? Irene and Toren will be on first. Other 3 will be on second.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I just realized I was muted. That was fine.
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. Okay, so I would like so everybody kind of turns in. Irene and Toren on the first watch, Celine and Yara in the tent. They're in the tent together, sleeping. 2 people to per tent for those 2. And Irene, I'm gonna say, because the other woman in the group, you're probably gonna stay. You were probably in the tent with them. Let's just say that. 3 of you were in the tent together. But now you're at the watch. Okay, so I would like both Irene and Toren to roll perception, please. Okay. All right. Okay. So you're both looking around, listening, kind of, passing the time. Toren, for a second, you hear a little bit of a rustling, but not enough to really, it's just seems like it's just a small animal or something. Not enough to, but you do hear it. But not enough to make you even look.
Yeah, Toren's just restringing his crossbow right now.
Okay, cool. Okay. The watch seems to go uneventfully, kind of looking at the stars, maybe talking about having some conversation. Then all of a sudden, you hear a blood-curdling scream coming from the tent where Celine and Yara was. Before you could even react, you see Yara running out of the tent. Not Yara, sorry. Celine running out of the tent. And she says, and she's barely catching her breath, and she says, Yara! And she's screaming, Yara! And like, she's gone!
Wait, what?
And she's looking around, like, she's like hysterical. She's running around, she's like running around, she's like, she has tears coming out of her eyes, and she just runs in the other tents, like not even caring, like waking you guys up, like looking into if she's in any of the tents at all, and just
do we wake up?
Oh yeah, she's like opening the flap of your tent, not even taking the time to see if you're even dressed at all. You all are, okay, we're not going there for this game, but no inhibition, just ripping off the flaps and looking for her, screaming Yara, Yara, Yara at the top of her lungs. And
can I just immediately start looking for her tracks or something?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I will do the same.
Okay, go ahead and roll your strongest out of nature and survival. Okay. You both immediately pick up. Okay, great. Yep. You know what? Selene will do it too because she's too upset. She's just running around. She's not even able to get her thoughts together to look for them. Okay. So both let's see, Toren and Phineas. You both kind of are like, okay, let's like calm down. Like you both kind of center yourselves, and you notice immediately some tracks and disturbances going directly into the woods.
Is it a single set of tracks, or is there multiple sets?
There's multiple sets.
Does it look like she was chasing after a bunny?
You can't. So the bunny is still there. The bunny's in its cage.
Okay.
Yeah, rabbit is fine. And part of what part of what makes you all well, let me just put it this way. Selene quickly in like breath tells you all that all her stuff is still there. Like the chances of this child leaving the camp on her own, you know what I'm saying? Like none of her stuff is gone. I mean, she's gone. And so the rabbit is still there. And so Selene is like grabbing stuff and like just throwing it in a bag, and she doesn't even like seem to remember to she doesn't even seem to like really want to grab her stuff, and she's just like whatever. She just throws her back on the ground and is like just wants to go. She doesn't even want to get her stuff. Okay, so do you guys want to, I mean, you guys can take 5 minutes to, guys don't have a lot of stuff. You guys can take like, a minute or two to grab your stuff and to follow the tracks.
Yep, it's like I grab my stuff, I grab my crossbow, it's like, okay, time to go hunt down a kidnapper.
So Selene takes nothing except for her bow.
I think I just start going after immediately because I don't really need anything.
Okay, yeah, and you have your sword on you.
Yeah, it's like, I just grab my crossbow and arrows, like, okay, time to hunt down a kidnapper.
All right, so you all head out. You all head after the tracks. Okay, so you notice that there are, like I said, several sets of tracks, and they seem to kind of like. Now, let me ask you a question, Toren. Do you have any proficiency with tracking at all, or any skills with tracking?
Is it survival tracking?
I have proficiency in nature.
Okay, I was asking that because you know what, you guys, I'm thinking of the ranger. The ranger has
ranger has those super dope skills.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I was thinking. Okay, never mind. Okay,
I think only revised ranger the skills are too. I think normal rangers.
No, normal ranger has that too. That's part of their whole shtick for it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Based on the
normal ranger overall, though, in my opinion, also is terrible.
They have it in a favored terrain. They have like bonuses.
Oh yeah,
correct.
And they could track their favored enemies.
Yep. Right. Okay. Yeah. So this would only be then the normal survival. Okay, cool. So actually, let me stop I think I saw the barbarian sounds on, so let me just go ahead and stop that real quick. Okay. So, you all head deep into the woods, and Selene the whole time is just crying. Tears coming down her face and like blaming herself and like just going like, I didn't do anything. And she's like, how did I let them take her out of here? And just like rubbing her face and completely blaming herself for this, whatever happened to Yara. And as you guys go, and it's very troubling because you guys are going deeper into the woods. You're not on a path. You're going deeper and deeper and deeper into the woods, and it's just very, very disturbing. Selene is just trying to kind of keep it together, but she is helping a little bit in terms of like kind of noticing little things here and there, but not much use to you guys. You all walk for a long time, and what seems like ages, but you don't quite know how much time has passed. And you are walking, you are, as you're getting deeper and deeper into the woods, it just seems to be such an ominous sign. Finally, you're getting to a point where you think that the trees might be clearing out just a little bit. So maybe you're headed to some type of civilization. Usually when the trees start to clear out, it's obviously someone cleared it, and they're trying to, they cleared it out to make room for whatever civilization or whatever houses are around, but you don't see anything yet.
I look at Toren and I was like, are we going guns blazing?
It's like, Toren does not know what to do right now.
So I'm really feeling guns blazing.
It's like, okay, if this is like some crazy death cult, we're going in guns blazing.
And you definitely again are noticing the trees beginning to separate. We're gonna put on our music. As you get closer, you notice a path widen. And on the ground, you see a single orange flower.
Is that like one of the flowers that I picked?
It is the flower. Mm-hmm. It's the flower that you picked.
Okay, that's not a promising sign. Well, it is in the fact we know we're going the right way, but not a promising sign the fact she dropped that.
Yeah.
Do you go ahead and pick it up?
Sure.
Okay. Okay. And as you kind of walk further in, the air feels heavier for some reason. Is it where you're going, or is it your fear, or is it something actually? You can't tell. And as you move closer, you see a building in the distance. And there you come across an old abandoned village. Rotting carts, broken fences, looking utterly deserted, and the muddy footprints lead in. And that's where we'll stop.
Ooh.
That's going to be our 6-hour session is going to be this part.
Spooky.
So this is where we'll stop. All right. So I have to actually go, but I'm glad it didn't quite run another hour, but as expected. That was I really liked I really liked how the barbarian village ended up. That was really interesting how it ended up. How you guys handled that situation, but it was pretty good. But okay. All right, I'm gonna have to go, everyone. I'm sending you, I have to go somewhere, but Phineas, like I said, I'll send you information. I'm sorry, I was thinking of your sword. I have nothing else to tell you about sword right now. Everyone, I will send you information about the arrows that you got, again, 5 each, the qualities, and we will talk about that later.
Split those among Toren.
Yeah, aren't we the only ones who use bows?
I think so.
At all?
I thought everybody could.
Bows,
maybe.
But...
No, I don't know.
I don't use them. I shoot beams out of my hand.
Well, yeah. Okay. Well, we'll talk about that. But yeah, I'll give you the description of the arrows. Let me know if you have any questions. All right. I will see you all next week. Oh, next week it's Foundry. Make sure your character sheets are up to date. In Foundry, if you need me to come in, let me know. We'll look at it. Okay. All right. Bye, everyone. You're welcome.
Have a good day, guys.